Well, that first game, they tried their level best, but unfortunately, 4 teams, they got caught off guard, and one of those IGLs that does not want to take those fights. If he can avoid them, he's going to try his level best to avoid them. And there's a lot of open space towards the eastern half of the map as well, especially where the players of True Rippers were. So they are not going to be forced into a fight as well. Look at that. No one up until you reach prison. And even after you reach prison, I think that's a conflict against MTR. If you can deal with that, you do it. Otherwise, you move towards the fields of farm, or maybe towards the Milta roadway and just display from there a few compounds you can use for cover. But now, Necro, look at this. It's a central shift, but there's a massive wave of teams moving in from that western edge. And that's, again, open space, open terrain. You are going to be forced into fights.
Yeah, the next zone popping up right on top of Nebula eSports. And now they seem extremely good. In the smack center, right next to Reignite. There's also Reject in the closer proximity. But D plus Kia might just be wrapping around the players of Nebula eSports. The moment a fight happens in the smack center, there will be a lot of third parties. And OG, at least as of now, since they're doing so good in the overall standings, one thing is for sure, for OG, the game plan's going to be simple. Now just keep on getting those average points. They're not going to try to bring in those flashy plays.
Well, they might not be bringing in the flashy plays, but as long as they can be consistent, that's all that matters. Reject on our screens, and as you mentioned, all of that commotion is going to be heard. DRX spotted in the distance as well. There is Reignite on that eastern flank. Reject. I mean, the one thing I like where they are is they're quite close to the center, just a little bit off towards the west. But there is so many bodies that a single mistake means you could end up losing this building. Oh no, Mad King's Claws got knocked out and finished off by DRX.
It's not a good start.
Yeah.
And that too by the hands of Hyunbin. DRX is not a team you would want to mess with. To be honest, just stay away from them. And that's what Mad Kings is doing. The moment they found out it's DRX that got the piece of the fight, instantly Mad Kings just backed away.
I mean, but Necro, what if you are trying to avoid them and they just want to be with you?
Well, you've got no other option. Just take the fight.
It's a toxic relationship, man.
Yeah, well, at that point, just take the fight, you know?
Yeah.
Just come to a conclusion who's the best, and then let things move on.
Oh, but JP, are they going to let Goblin move on from this? He tried to commit a spray, tried to see if he could find the opener for his team, but now has drawn the attention of JP, although I think JP they take control of the center and stay there. They've sent one man to try and scout out as to exactly how many players are present on the other side, but I don't think they would want to commit. There's still 62 players left in this game. It's 2 casualties, one from NSR and the other from the side of Mad Kings. K9 eSports, we were talking about them. Now having rotated all the way from Severny to, well, the east of Mansion, moving through prison. They are going for a very long rotation, Necro. But look at this, where the players of K9 eSports are, all the edges are under the control of different teams. There's True Rippers, there's MTR, there's God's Reign. If you move down further south, there's Soul, there's JP. K9 eSports have no way to find a break inside the play zone.
But this also means K9 eSports can fall prey to multiple teams.
Exactly.
And taking too many fights at the same time is not exactly something you would want to do. Dealing with that many amount of players, that's going to be tough for K9 eSports. Not just K9 eSports, any team, beat D plus Kia.
Yeah.
So as of now for K9, they just want to find a clean breaching point. And that's what Omega's searching constantly.
I mean, if they can get to that high ground of that prison hill, that's going to be a dream situation. And I think that was the intention, but they found themselves quite close to the players of True Rippers. On the other front, DRX playing from the southwestern edge of the circle. An open field, have a nice little dip to work with, have avoided line of fire to the players of OG. DRX, not a lot of options for them. They just have to keep their heads down and be patient for now.
Mysterious 4, after winning that previous game, it did feel like the confidence is all-time high, but K9 eSports on the receiving side of the spectrum. Slug knocked out and confirmed by True Rippers. And K9 off to a bad start. The big man Slug not in the game. And K9 now, that's going to be a stinger.
Yeah.
Salt on top of the moons now need to work with just a 3-man squad. But we know K9 Esports does even better with only 3 players.
But I think this is not going to be their game based on where they are and what the rotation strategy was. I think we might just see K9 lose a few more players. Look at this. After losing Slug at the hands of True Rippers, they are about to run into the arms of Soul, and there you have it.
I'm not exactly sure why Goblin backed away in such an awkward way. Because Goblin definitely stood a chance to shut down at least one player, but things are under control. Since Joker, the man was set up to perfection, the crossfire, it finds a lot of value. Soul, it seems like they're on the verge of conquering the grounds against K9 Esports. As Beast, he wants to back away to safety, but that's going to be impossible. K9 now with just a 2-man squad, and Soul knows they've got the best piece of the pie. The final 2 players just want to back away and play for survival.
Oh, but Soul, I think they just miscalculated, thought it was still the same team on the flank, but running into the arms of MTR over there. And K9 Esports, Omega and Ninja Boy run for their lives. Could have almost ran into the arms of True Rippers again, but somehow do end up avoiding that entire fight, a 2v4, and keep moving back to the northern side they go. That long rotation, a miscalculation in terms of where there is going to be breathing room. I think an assumption was made that everyone would have pushed for the central compounds and no one's going to be sticking around that prison area. Or maybe they just went there looking for fights. But whatever it was, K9 Esports, they messed up this match. On the other side, Soul, Necro, they are picking up loose stragglers, but they are kind of building up a start of what could be a big game for them. They have 2 finishes on the board.
Yeah, but the main concern is Soul's only got 3 players standing, so that's where that big can really go down the drain.
Yeah.
They don't have enough manpower, but at least they've got 2 finish points. And that's going to be a massive ray of hope in the overall standings. They're collecting those loose stragglers, but as a team, Soul needs to be solid.
They're taking their time with the fights. They're not just fully committing into any situation that they have had. Even with the players of K9 Esports, they saw they had the numbers advantage. They saw that they could have won it, but as you mentioned, you felt weird, Goblin backing off. I think just prioritizing safety, man.
And I think the Goblin knew that Joker's got the line of sight as well.
Exactly.
That's why he just set up those frags for Joker, and Joker was able to pick him off easily.
I mean,
so
the
yeah,
points are
that's
gonna come to the
communication
team.
on point.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Hey, but Mysterious 4, now
Reignite.
finally we see them move in as well.
Reignite taking a bit of that pie away from Reject as well. Finding that frag, getting the confirmation towards Apollo, even Divine falls down. What's going on with Reject? They're getting blown apart. Even Apollo's able to get that man down. OG constantly just taking those shots away, but Mysterious 4, now they start to find the best of OG. 2 players already down, but AKOP does return back the favor as he finds a frag against Snowjawed. But still, the trades are happening back and forth. Both the teams on the same level field. I mean, this one's going to be a tough one for Mysterious 4. AKOP is the only person standing for OG, but this one man, he can really be the one to put the spanner in the works.
I have no idea what's happening between Mysterious 4 and OG, to be honest. First on Rondo and now on Erangel. OG is down to the last man. Mysterious 4 has picked up 3. They picked up 3 last game. They pick up 3 this game as well. AKOP is going to try and make a run for his life as a saving grace is going to be there in the form of NS, who have come in for a third party, a run-over attempt, and he misses it. Omega against AK! A spam in the smoke, almost had it in the bag, but Omega strikes back, and Orangutan is going to be the first team eliminated in this game of Erangel.
Mysterious 4, Omega saving the day for the boys and keeping the banner still high in the sky. And keep this thing in mind, Mysterious 4, they had a lot of points in the previous game, so in this game, if Mysterious 4, even if they get 6 or 7 points, that's going to be more than enough. That's going to keep their spot pinned down in the first spot. Unless NS is going to be the winner of this game, then that's going to be a different story.
I mean, if they can, as you mentioned, if they can get 6 or 7 points, it's good, but I would still want to see double digits. 10 points per game, because you never know when DRX, when teams like Reignite, when teams like D plus Kia are just going to start making that bounce. Reject as well, still included in this list, although Reject in this game are going to have a tough time. We see on the radar, there it is, Sara and Reggie. They try to find a way inside the play zone, but DRX come hunting.
Reignite and DRX, they're drawing a lot of frags, especially Reignite, shutting down one of the best teams out there, which is Reject. And yeah, Reject's not having a good time at all. First game was not too good. Second game as well, only 2 points on the board.
Mysterious Foe also eliminated from this game.
Yeah,
that is something that I did not expect. I think NSR might have had something to do with that.
the point is, Mysterious Force still got 5 points, so I think it's a decent performance in this game.
Yeah.
But hold on. As of now, Reignite, they're getting absolutely bombarded. As I mentioned, DRX is not a team you would want to mess with. These guys are like the hungry tigers. Just waiting for the prey to make that one single mistake and step out in the open. And they already did find the knockout, but the bounce isn't there yet.
Oh, but still DRX, I think with what we've seen from them in this game so far, I love the confidence. Reignite, they want to fight a break inside the circle. Necro, it's just 2 minutes, 15 seconds remaining. The blue zone has started to move, and both the teams are outside the play zone. So that's extra added pressure that might result in a few miscalculations. The nade was very close. The second one goes up in the air for a toss, but DRX, they're going to be still on their feet. And Reignite, since they have concrete cover to work with, they can hold back.
Yunbin is taking a lot of damage from the blue, but now DRX, they need to be on the move. Reignite, they've really been a big pain in the back, even for the side of DRX. To be honest, the position that Reignite had, they made the best possible outcome. Getting so many frags, and now also being an absolute pain for the players of DRX. As DRX is now going to place themselves out in the open, but even Nebula, they're getting a bit of that share. DRX, they're in shambles. One player knocked out. The second man as well follows up that fray. The confirmations follow up as well. And oh no, DRX, they're down to just that one last glimmer of hope, but even he's about to fade away soon.
Yeah, it's completely out into the open. They're surrounded, getting shot at from everywhere. And as you mentioned, DRX, they might have just dragged the players of Reignite along with them, because Reignite saw the players of DRX move out into the open. They thought it was going to be easy finishes, but they became the easy frags now. Reignite has lost a few players, still waiting to be confirmed, but Soul, and what amazing nades coming in from Joker, does manage to help his team clean up, relieve some of the pressure as they take a fight against MTR.
4 frags from Soul. That's a good draw. And as of now, Soul's also being pressured by the players of True Rippers. They're really going to be their Grim Reapers. The Kryptonite maybe. But it's just 2 men standing for Soul. They can't even do a lot. The toes are exposed, and Joker's taking a lot of damage. But now he needs to farm that off angle. And look at Hirsch. Even he's got that surprising effect. Hirsch has got the high ground to play with. That off angle from Hirsch can definitely catch the players off guard. But now it's the moment where Soul needs to make that push. No excuses!
Oh.
And this net from Keo, it's gonna blow up right on the face. Soul, they will not stand a single chance against True Rippers as Keo wraps up in a sheet.
What a play coming from this man, and of course, why not one of the best players in the country with Nebula eSports? They have just wiped the floor with NSR. Reignite is going to be their next target. Yamak, he's going to be the last man left alive, but that cluster moving in, MTR has their backs compromised as well. Taki Necro, he can't go anywhere from here. No place is safe.
The man's pinned and his position's compromised. As MTR, they put the nail in the coffin, and that's going to be it for Reignite. Just 3 frags out of this. A lot of teams were not able to get a lot of points in this one, and this is going to be a bad news in the future. But as of now, for True Rippers, they know they've got the high ground. They know they possess one of the best spots. Not inside of the circle yet, but still they can clean the field.
Man, my head is hurting thinking who might win this game. We're down to the top 6, 18 players alive. True Rippers, they're trying to redeem themselves, or, well, kind of bounced back from the fiasco of Rondo a few moments ago. This game being a little bit more aggressive, and this high ground, this hill in their control actually is such a big playmaking position, Necro. It's an open field up front. Yes, you are going to be at the edge of the play zone right now, and the next circle might not be on top of you, but before you move into that open field, you will basically get the lay of the entire land up ahead if you play your cards right and if you are patient enough.
True. But look at JPX. Even they're prone out of the open, and I guess one of the main reasons for this sort of a play style, it's also because the circle constantly shifting out in the open with next to no cover to play with. And a lot of these teams being forced out of their comfort zones. CAG in the sidelines too, and CAG really need to worry about JPX. JP can strike it at any time, and CAG can be caught off guard. Smoke's being tossed. It's a wall being created. JPX, now it's clear. They want to make some moves. They're done playing it passive. They're done just holding down the same ground. And True Rippers, they start a strike. I mentioned this. True Rippers got one of the best seats in the house.
Yeah.
And if they do prioritize those seats, they can clean out the lobby.
There is no way MTR survives this. As you mentioned, True Rippers, best seats in the house. They are sitting up in that balcony, and they are going to make sure that MTR is not there once they make that bounce. Because that's the only way there's not going to be any pressure on them once they push up. On the other side, JP, I want to talk about them. They know that God's Reign has their back compromised. The moment JP starts fighting, they know they have to be ready for a third party as well.
Oh, Nebula, though. CAG.
Oh, wow.
Oh, they've been eliminated from the game with a bit of that help from the side of True Rippers. CAG. I never saw this coming. For a moment, I thought maybe JP can be the one to be eliminated. But no, that's not the case. Instead, CAG, they follow up the fray. JP still alive, and they have been playing this one extremely safe, Johnny. 0 finishes so far.
Yeah.
They're playing it as passive as possible.
Pretty much, I mean, and all thanks to God's Reign again. I mean, they've kept this team on the floor. They've made sure that JP isn't allowed to do much. And, well, talk about doing much. True Rippers might just be doing a little too much harm to the players of MTR. All 4 players making that pounce on that one man. This is going to be a beatdown. And, well, there's the extinction of the T-Rex. MTR eliminated from the game. Oh, that nade! Lovely!
Oh, that nade was precise. Directly tossed on top of the players. The second one as well. It's going to be on the mark. But how does that not find a knock? JPX, they've got a second shot at life, and they better make the most out of it. But that too against a team like God's Reign, this one's going to be a tough convert. JP, they're taking too many fadeaway shots upon themselves, and they want to go for the revive.
We're down to the top 4. 14 players, and as you mentioned, JP, I'm also surprised. That should have been a second knock. I thought God's Reign might just commit, but True Rippers show up at the right time, and God's Reign, they're going to be forced to back off. Now, readjusting, rethinking, where do you want to fight? Do you find a fight up north against the players of JP, or do you clear the southern edge first? Well,
oh no,
the north it is a spray. 2 players hitting the floor. God's Reign, they have the opening.
The IGL is able to thread the needle as he fights those 2 quick frags. 1 spray down, and he finds those 2 loose strings. But still, for God's Reign, the trouble's not done yet. Now they need to deal with the players of True Rippers as well, and that's going to be the biggest threat for them. JP's being manhandled by Nebula, but God's Reign, even for them, it's a tough time against the players of True Rippers. They've got 3 men standing in God's Reign. Even for them, they've got 3 players. But God's Reign, they're in a big pickle situation. Between the players of JP and True Rippers, God's Reign now needs to prioritize. And God's Reign, they're getting absolutely bombarded, shut down by True Rippers. Utility's able to find the mark, but Nebula eSports as well. Since they know True Rippers is distracted with God's Reign, Nebula wants to make the move.
Nebula eSports, 14 eliminations in this match. They have set the stage on fire, but that is what they would like to do to everyone else. Look at that, JP spotted out Nebula with a very risky rotation. Nomi, where did the HP go? But somehow he still does manage to stay alive.
That was not the move, Nebula.
He's so
Luckily enough,
lucky.
Nomi's still alive.
Yeah.
Barely on a pixel of HP. You cannot even see his HP bar, by the way. That's how low the guy is. Even one single swing in the air can actually take him down. But True Rippers, the way they've been playing, as I mentioned, True Rippers, they like to play for control. And once again, they're showcasing the utmost control in the game. But the main concern for all these teams on the edges is now going to be that Nebula controls the circle. They've got the advantage, and Nebula is just going to wait for True Rippers to be done with the players of JPX.
By the way, JP has been quite consistent. They did decent in that previous game of Rondo as well and still find themselves in the top 3 of Wrangle.
Yeah, but the point is JP does not have a lot of finish points in this game. So JP is not going to get away with a lot of points.
They're playing like True Rippers normally plays.
No, they're playing like God's Reign normally plays. God's Reign, they don't really prioritize finish points till the final few moments, but then they start prioritizing it. But recently, God's Reign have changed, and I'm liking that.
True. I was going to say, it's ironic you say that in the one tournament where God's Reign is fighting. Oh, man, but Nebula eSports, I mean, very impressive in this match.
True
14
Rippers.
eliminations and going up into this 4v3 against True Rippers.
Yeah.
I think this has to be Nebula's game.
For Nebula, True Rippers is going to be the only threat. And I think Nebula eSports should put their manpower against the players of True Rippers more. But Nebula, they already do threat the needle. And what are these knocks they're finding? Crisp, clean, and precise. Even Kratos finds the opener against True Rippers. With not a lot of playing options available now, True Rippers, they will be suppressed. As even the Blues on the move. True Rippers, they're going to be forced out of their comfort zone soon. Hirsch, he needs to leave this cover and move out in the open, and that's where Nebula's going to find the advantage. Hirsch is proning out in the open as Azi's going to be the one to make the pounds. And Nebula, they close out the second game. What a way to make your entrance in the top 5 of the overall standings. Nebula eSports, I love it.
From being the national villain to becoming an international hero, seems like Adi has really bought in all that hype. And Nebula eSports, what a crackling chicken dinner that was. They went all out and seems like they made up for all those lost points in Rondo.
No. Oh no, you see Mysterious 4. Oh no, that's the Nebula. I mean, they're still happy. I thought M4 was still wondering as to, all right, what could we have done better in this game? But Nebula eSports, what a game, man. What a game. The only team that could have stopped them in their tracks was True Rippers, but
without a doubt.
Well, Nebula truly ripped them apart.
And it all came from how they captured the circle pretty early on, right?
Hey, look at that.
They dropped down, they had the circle, and yes, the audience is elated. Game number 2 also goes to an Indian team. That's going to be Nebula eSports there. And that's some beautiful stuff coming in. But Jason Phalanx, again, consistency has been showcased. And I beg to differ, gentlemen, once again. Felt like Meta Ninjas, didn't it?
Yeah, Meta Ninja, a bit of a mix of God's Reign as well. Since in the final few moments, at least we saw them take the fights. But Meta Ninja, they never do. So that was the difference, right? But to be honest, for JP, as you mentioned, at least they've showcased the consistency. This consistency is going to keep them around that top 3 or maybe around the top 5 as well, which is a good thing. But I do believe for the future circumstances, they need to start taking fights.
Also, by the way, Fix is my guy. I love the fact that you're very unpredictable from... I did not know where you were going to go from being the... villain in the domestic circuit. How you were going to define Adi next? An international villain?
An international hero is what I would love to describe it.
He's going to be hero for the Indians and villain for the others.
I think we need
Could
to...
be if you see it that way.
Yeah.
We need to tell the backstory. We have a lot of new viewers joining us today.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, for all the viewers who've joined in from maybe the international waters, Adi, he has been causing a lot of mischief. Not just him, his entire contingency. They have been at par. They have been doing amazingly well. Always on the hunt, always on the prowl. And that is how they've been running their Cinderella story. And for Adi, there's an even deeper storyline running through.
Yeah, he does not like big organizations, basically. If you have a big org team playing on that stage right now, this man will come after you every single match.
And I guess the good part about Adi is that he actually walks the talk, right?
Yeah.
And he never gives up.
Prove himself, and he knows how to prove his point.
And he never gives up. I think
Yeah.
that is what Adi has always been about, right? Always comes in with new set of players and suddenly makes them stars. So many players. You're looking at the likes of Goblin, everybody we've seen in the past also having played under Adi, even the likes of True Rippers, we've seen Harsh Gibbs also. We've seen all these players have been mentored under Adi. They left him and now look at Adi, came in, back again, won a recent tournament and then headed on to another. And now they've qualified and now they're here. So that has been the story for Nebula Esports. We're going to talk more about that. But what a game it was. A second game of Wrangle where everybody was worried. Maybe the Koreans could have taken it. Maybe the Japanese. It was the Indians once again. So much more to talk. But after this short little break.
Hello everyone and welcome back to BMIC 2025. You guys are currently watching the English broadcast. My name is ICBaby12 at your service and joining me is Fixus and Necro as we take you through the commentaries for today here. And guess what? 2 games back to back, India has taken it all.
I know, right? I mean, especially with the expectations coming through from the Korean side, Indians are actually dominating the lobby in quite the great fashion, right? Nebula Esports this time just proving the point, and in the previous game, we did see Mysterious 4 do extremely good. I had a lot of personal expectations from DRX, and considering the sort of position they had, but the moment the zone shifted away from them, yeah, somewhere down line, we all knew DRX could not really do a lot in that situation.
You know, it's interesting to see that after 2 games, the confidence level of all the Indian teams are just oozing out of control, except for the exception of Seoul, of course. I'm sorry, Seoul just have no clue what happened to them in game 1 and game number 2 here. But for all things considered here, what is going up with the Korean and the Japanese teams here? Because I was very surprised on how passive they've gotten despite a very, very aggressive start in Rondo.
Let's be honest, first things first, we've got 8 Indian teams and there are just 4 Koreans and 4 Japanese. That is a mathematical advantage. You've got a lot of Indian teams, so the probabilities also do increase along with that. And then they have been scrimming a lot. They have been playing together since the past 8 days. They have been constantly doing that. So the fear has gotten away. And that is where the Indians are really rising up. They are actually putting the Koreans and the Japanese teams in really uncomfortable situations. We can see that time and again happening.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't expect Fixes to be a Mads guy, but he has a point. 8 Indian teams versus 4 versus
Always
4.
been a Mads
But
guy.
for all things considered here, let's talk about the MVP of the match, because that was a massive game coming from Nebula Esports with a total of 19 finishers, but there will be one MVP, and that is going to be coming in from Phoenix with a total of 7 finishers here coming from Nebula Esports, and he played absolutely phenomenal here. Were we expecting this coming from Nebula, who, again, a team that almost not qualify in towards BMIC on the one final game. BMSD sneaks their way in as part of the top 8 of India.
Oh,
and
wow.
now, guess what? 4 of them are in the top 5 in game 2.
4 out of 5 are actually from the side of Nebula Esports. Actually, the entirety of Nebula Esports is right over here. And this just showcases the amount of sheer dominance this team can bring on the board. Now, as if you move on towards the point standings, you will also see True Rippers right there with 14 points. Even JPX, they were playing this one extremely passive, and that's the only reason why they've only got 6 points in total. God's Reign as well with 6. MTR coming through with only 5. CAG with 5 too.
You know, what really got my eyes glued was Mysterious 4 and Orangutan engaging early on whilst they were trying to enter inside the circle, somehow sabotaging both their chances, because before this game, they were at the tippity top. Mysterious 4 somehow holding on, OG not too far behind, but True Rippers, God's Reign, they've also been quite consistent, especially God's Reign. I really want to touch upon them. You saw Destro, right?
Yep.
That spray on the players of JPX felt like it came straight from the heavens.
Yeah, that was just insane here. But what's really surprising for me is that after 2 games here, the Japanese champions, Reject, who's currently in the bottom here, what went wrong? Because this is a global contender. And yes, we can say they do have somewhat of a safety cushion. They're still part of the global rosters, but they are going to be competing in group stages here. But I was expecting them to, you know, maybe skip the entire stage by winning the trophy. What is going on here?
Yeah, the only reason why Reject was not able to get a good game in the hands is because of Reignite. They were constantly taking those shots against him, and they were always able to find those individual knocks against the players. Eventually, Reject caught a lot of attention upon themselves around the circle, and since the circle was so much out in the open, Reject could not really do a lot. Reignite was constantly taking those shots, and Reject was just pinned out in the open. The position they had in the first place was really questionable.
Again, when you look at Reject as an entire team, you could see, right, their heavy reliance on one player, that is Reichi. So they have been eyeing out on him. We've seen those interviews. Even the IGL talks a lot about him. He has been collecting a lot of those individual accolades. For Reject to really succeed over here, again, they'll have to bestow their faith on him and maybe just hope that he plays really well.
Well, speaking of playing really well as here, I have an insider information as well. Nongshin Red Force did give me a little bit of insights before coming to day number 1. They realized, and they've made a very, very strong comment on the Indian teams in particular when they're screaming, is that they've noticed that the Indian teams extremely aggressive. And so far, based on that game itself, was this aggression called for? Was it a right thing or was it a wrong thing? What do you think?
So listen, when I had a conversation with the Indian team, especially with Adi himself, the man clearly mentioned one thing. The only chance we stand to actually beat the Korean teams is by aggression. If we try to play it passive, if we try to play with their own game style, they will easily win because they know how to play defensive, they know how to play passive, they've got better strategies. But if we bring in the aggression, we've got the firepower, and we think we're better than them when it comes to taking the fights, and that's what Nebula Esports did in that game.
Is what I'm hearing saying that in terms of playing the passive gameplay, they will outweight you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he said. When it comes to playing the tactical standpoint, when it comes to playing the overall passive game, they're better.
Well, speaking of this as well, I think we have had a lot of limelight onto the Indian teams here. I'm curious to see what the Japanese has to say, because JPX was one of the top contenders in that previous match, because we are going to be jumping into an interview with them right here, right now, very, very soon, because I want to see what's happening here. Take it away.
थैंक यू सो मच कास्टर्स एंड इस समय मैं शेजॉन जे टीम के साथ हूं जिन्होंने मतलब चिकन डिनर के पास पहुंचे लेकिन वो हाथ नहीं लगा एंड इस समय ऑफ कोर्स आई हैव एन इंटरप्रेटर विद मी जो मेरे हिंदी के सवालों को इनकी भाषा में कन्वर्ट करेंगे फिर इनका जो जवाब है वो वापस हमें सुनाएंगे तो सबसे पहले मैं आईजीएल से ये जानना चाहूँगा स्पॉटा नाम है इनका तो 2 गेम्स बहुत ही क्लोज रहा चिकन डिनर के काफ़ी नज़दीक लेकिन चिकन डिनर हाथ में नहीं आया एग्जैक्टली हुआ क्या?
승리를 너무 가까우니까 뭐가 잘 맞춰서 승리를 거두지 않았습니까?
사실 치킨을 먹을 수도 있는 상황이긴 했는데 저희가 있는 지역에서 이제 인서클이 아닌 상태였거든요. 그래서 그 상황 때 빨리 교전을 그러니까 한 지역을 밀러가는 판단을 했어야 되는데 그 판단이 좀 늦어가지고 치킨을 먹을 수 없었던 것 같습니다 이번 판에는.
ये बोल रहे कि जीत के तो हम काफ़ी नज़दीक थे लेकिन हम जिस एरिया में थे उस एरिया में काफ़ी ज़्यादा और टीम्स थी और उस एरिया में कहाँ पे हमें रहना था हम सही जगह डिसाइड नहीं कर पाए, इस वजह से हमें हार का सामना करना पड़ा।
ऑलराइट, अब हार का सामना तो करना पड़ा, लेकिन जिस तरह से इनकी क्लैरिटी है, क्लियरली पता चल रहा है कि इनको पता है कि कहाँ गलती हुई है, तो इन गलतियों को सुधार के कि अगले गेम में चिकन डिनर एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं।
잘못된 이유가 알고 있잖아요. 그래서 다음 게임에서 승리를 기대하고 있습니까?
매판 치킨을 먹을 마음으로 플레이하고 있습니다. 다 같이.
बोल रहे हैं कि मेरा मन है आज तो चिकन खाने का, तो मैं तो आज जीत के ही रहूंगा।
ऑलराइट, एंड इस समय देखिए डे 1 है, तीसरा गेम अभी बस शुरू होने वाला है। ऑलरेडी बहुत सपोर्ट है एंड हमने टीम एंट्रीज में भी देखा कि हर एक टीम को काफी ज्यादा सपोर्ट मिला। तो इस समय वाइब के बारे में क्या कहना चाहेंगे ऑफ BMIC 2025?
지금 팬들이도 많아요. 여기 분위기에 관한 생각이 어떻습니까?
진짜 생각했던 것보다 정말 많은 팬분들이 또 오셔가지고 또 진짜 경기 할 맛 나고요. 진짜 더 열심히 해서 꼭 치킨 많이 먹을 수 있도록 그런 플레이를 좀 해야겠다는 마음이 좀 많이 듭니다.
इनके एक्सपेक्टेशन से ज़्यादा भी यहाँ पे फैंस है और जो एटमॉस्फेयर है वो तो बहुत ही गजब है। तो ये बिल्कुल चिकन खाने के मकसद से ही अगले सारे गेम्स खेलेंगे।
तो इस समय यहाँ पर तो उन्होंने बता दिया कि इनका मूड है चिकन खाने का, लेकिन क्या हमारी टीम्स वापस इनको रोक पाएगी फ्रॉम द चिकन डिनर? ये सब आपको अच्छी तरह समझाएंगे हमारे कास्टर्स। सो लेट ओवर टू द कास्टर्स डेस्क।
Well. Interesting enough, we have a lot of insights here. It seems like they are still eyeing to be part of the champion rosters, but after 2 games, do you think JPX is doing well? And anyways, my apologies early on for my remark. JPX is from Korea. So anyways, go on.
Yeah, but once again, I believe JPX just needs to amp up the aggression if they really do want to stand a chance to win the game. The way JPX was playing the previous game, I feel like a lot of the opportunities were presented to them, but JPX was still playing it passive, and that's the only reason why they could not really make the most out of it.
But you know, again, for JPX, I'm still proud that they have been consistent while a lot of these teams have been messing up, making those mistakes. JPX, I think, yeah, there's some room to work with, but maybe, who knows, in Erangel, they get the second one, they get a chicken dinner.
Well, hopefully things are going to be for a little bit better here. Adaptations will be made here in Game 3 for the BMIC day number 1, because we are going to be jumping straight into game right here, right now.
For the 3rd time in the day, we head on towards the map of Erangel, as this time the plane's going to be starting all the way from Gotka towards Norupnoi. Now this plane flight path heavily tilted towards the bottom left, and if the teams do want to head on towards Savarni, Stalber, Kamishki, or even Lipovka, that's going to be a bit of a tough stretch.
Indeed, it shall be. But my eyes fixated on where the circle shall form. The first game of Erangel, we saw it was slightly skewed towards the eastern side, something that Adi really capitalized on, holding on to the center, and then eventually taking down teams left, right, and center. And all these boys, they are starting to feel it, adrenaline coursing through their veins. But what I also want to see is some drop collisions. The first game of Erangel was slightly slow in the start, eventually gathered some steam, but Fauna, I see it on the likes of OG, Aiku Soul, both these teams still hoping to play better in Erangel.
They probably will. And even in the interview, the guy from JPX was clearly saying this, that he wants to win a game. And he really wants a chicken dinner bad. They seem extremely desperate, and they're probably going to try to make it happen as soon as possible. Maybe this game can be it. As you mentioned, they have been extremely consistent, and that's sort of playing pretty well for them. Hollywood, crazy. As of now, dropping around that Fairpier side, but there's Reignite right next to him, and the circle once again panning out towards the right side.
This is really interesting. This is one of the circles where Reject can make a lot out of the situation. We have seen their masterclass in terms of holding circles, and now having that farm split in play. Even for Nebula, they must be pretty pleased with how the circle has favored them once again. But this time, there's a slight possibility, Necro, that maybe the zone goes south. MITR, they've been quite aggressive. They've been going all out. But position points is something that they can really work on.
Without a doubt. They definitely can work on those. Nebula eSports, well, this is one of those teams that's doing good in all the compartments. Be it the placement points, be it the elimination points. That previous game, they had 19 elimination points, which is mind-boggling. And that too in a stage like this. Adi and the boys, they really had a game plan cooking. But I do feel like we're a bit too early to judge anything. It's just the game 3. And probably all these other teams, they're just trying to test the waters, know exactly what the game plan and the game strategy are going to look like. And then maybe in the final few games, they will start a strike.
Absolutely. I mean, surely Japanese and the Koreans will stage their comebacks. We might get to see a couple of teams getting the chicken dinners also in the games to come. But Jason Phalanx, see Aiku Soul just nearby, whittling around as Potter has no rooms of escape as Knuckle this time's open things up. And Aiku Soul, they feast on him. Get that one finish secured. And now Aiku Soul, they will be departing to Pochinki. Get some droop, get some loot, and then maybe move ahead.
First pick from Seoul. The previous game as well. Seoul did have a few elimination points, but that did not really amass to a lot. Just 5 in total so far. Counting this one in. Seoul, they need to be a little bit more proactive. That's what I personally think. Yeah, they're taking fights, but when it comes to prioritizing the circle, when it comes to paving a good pathway and coming up with a game plan on the fly, that's where Seoul's struggling currently. They can definitely do better.
You know what I feel from what we saw? Goblin has been quite disciplined. We've seen him not somehow overextending too much. There was that one instance where the players of K9 really pushed on, and then the old Goblin would have overstretched. So Team Seoul, I think they might be overthinking a little bit, trying to execute their plans, and it's not working out. And that is where your, of course, your suggestions really do come into play. They need to be more proactive, maybe just have that one of those Nebula games, go all out, get all that confidence back, and then maybe start collecting a lot of points.
I like the fact that you brought up overthinking. And yeah, I do believe that Seoul is definitely overthinking quite a bit. That Goblin scenario, once again, put in such a way that I do feel like Goblin could have actually snatched that elimination point away with these, without even taking any sort of casualty upon himself. But him backing away showcases the mindset. That team is a little bit concerned.
No, but that was the biggest issue with Goblin, right? We know that he's an amazing fragger, let's be honest. But there have been situations where he tends to overextend. So he's not leaving that to chance, because when you again look at that particular fight against K9, Team Seoul still did have a lot of finishes there. So, I mean, for Goblin, it has been an improvement in my opinion, but I get it where you're coming from, that mindset. I think that instinct to just go after finishes, because you're the assaulter, you should be doing all the heavy lifting, and that is something that Goblin needs to find the perfect balance in.
And I guess the amount of points they've got really proves my point as well.
Yeah.
2 games done and dusted. They've only got 5 points so far. And that too, all of them come through from the elimination points. They were not able to survive till the late game, even in one single game. So that really shows us the amount of confidence issues this team is going through. But hey, as I mentioned, we might just be too early to judge. It's still just the 3rd game of the day. And teams can definitely make a major bounce back. We might just see a major shift in the play style as well from a lot of these teams.
A couple of months ago in another global tournament, Nongshim Red Force did not have a great start, Necro. Day number 1 had single-digit points, but it was day number 2 and day number 3 that they showed their true colors, went all guns blazing. So even for today, Nongshim Red Force, they've been silent, they've been kept at bay. But it's just that one explosive game that's needed. When you talk about explosiveness, they pack the entire factory along, K9 eSports. I mean, let's be honest, they haven't shown up yet either. The K9 that we know and love, they're yet to awaken.
We're still waiting for that Nebula eSports type of performance from K9 eSports, right?
Yeah.
And that's when they will truly wake up. But I do believe the fact that K9 eSports as well, they've been a little bit disciplined. If you watch the first 2 games, K9 are not really overextending in those fights. Yeah, the first game, K9 was aggressive, but in the second game, K9 was really picking and choosing their fights. And maybe that's one of the main reasons why that did not really work out.
And again, those splits, we've noticed those 1-3 splits sometimes. And talking to a lot of these players and coaches, most of the Indian teams have decided that they would want to stick together. You know, go back to basics, play on their own strengths, something that Adi has just showcased, but Mysterious 4. I mean, who would have thought, Necro, the first chicken dinner Eds in Rondo, and they get a lot of points in this one.
Soul around the playing field of Reignite, but even Reignite just backing away, respecting the foes. And Reignite was one of those teams that really made sure that Reject's going to bleed in that previous game. They were constantly taking those shots, keeping the players of Reject on their knees. They were keeping them in check. And yeah, I also did see the elimination feed for K9 Esports. For some reason, one of the guy, I think he slipped out of the moving vehicle, and that's why he got knocked out. I'm not exactly sure what happened there.
Yeah, for Omega. What really has me concerned is there anybody around him? Because when you take a look at the map feed, you notice that Mysterious 4, they've been traversing by. Or maybe the floor was wet. I do not know what happened, but D plus Kia could be in a world of trouble. There you go, Fabian. Otherwise, opens it up against AKOP, but OG surely want to retaliate back. Ataki caught out in the open, and D plus Kia, they're coming for blood.
Oh my God.
Getting a beautiful trade there, and now Osal, Nolbu and Chips, they want to get the better out of OG. They want revenge.
These are some questionable moves from OG, I'm not going to lie. I think he's stomping out in the open like that. He was not supposed to do it. And within the blink of an eye, OG has been eliminated from the game. But D plus Kia, no time to reset as Soul's here with a quick third party. And already Nolbu's down. Osal and his teammate in the backline, Chips. Now they will need to be the one to do something. But instead, even Chips falls down. The last man, Osal, standing for D plus Kia against the entirety of Soul. And I highly doubt he can do a lot. The man's burning through his HP. And eventually, he's been eliminated from the game. This is the confidence booster. This is the momentum booster Soul needed.
Struck in when the hammer was hot. There you go. Team Soul playing extremely well in that situation. And now CAG Osaka have really closed in. Aiku Soul well aware of their surroundings. They did not want to go for round 2 yet. Instantly leaving that compound. But what a bounce that was. But again, Orangutan completely caught with their pants down. Did not kind of anticipate D plus Kia to be pushing on them like that.
Look at Nebula right next to Mad Kings. And Nogshib, even they're right above the players of Mad Kings. So Mad Kings, as of now, they're in a big sandwich. Looking at the players of JPX. Even they're around the playing field of Reignite, so yeah, for Reignite, once again, all they want to do is find a good spot to play with where they can have a lot of visual and probably be a menace for teams.
I think Reignite has been doing that. They're engaging in those early fights, but quick look at the replay. So, Orangutan traversing around Fabian. Just caught AK off guard, but that is where those mistakes kept on happening, right? Atanki out in the open, and then Vizgod was in such an uncomfortable situation. But right next, even Aiku Soul, they were lurking around. And the moment they got that opportunity, they salvaged it instantly. D plus Kia had no answers there. That was a very clinical wipe, if you ask me.
It indeed was. But once again, for Soul, they already did have the advantage in that entire fight. For OG, they messed up big. Especially Atanki ejecting out in the open when he did not even know what's going on around him. That was a big question mark. Atanki thought that everyone from the side of D plus Kia is there inside of the houses, but instead there were a few players out in the open right next to him. Mysterious 4, buddy! He might just mess up big! But no, Snowjaw, he's got his bag. CAG, they lose out of the big man. Oh, it's not a good start to the fight. Mysterious 4, now they're going to be the one to dictate the pace. And they're also doing extremely good in the overall standings. So Mysterious 4, the confidence is going to be all-time high.
Still playing around the northeastern edges. They've got Noxing, Bread Force right in front of them, but Mysterious 4 need to be very calculative over here, Necro, because if they decide to press in, and now even the circle has shifted away from them, it's a western shift, and look at GDR. They've got the center, Nebula, still holding on to that position, JPX. They've also captured the central areas pretty early on, and Reignite, like you mentioned, this time, they've been rather silent. True Rippers rotating from the southern side, even for MITR. So many teams, that influx is pretty much visible. Maybe could really bring another fight on us, but for now, it's just teams trying to settle down, find another pit stop, and I'm just hoping I get to see another fight.
Reignite's game plan's simple. Find a game-changing position, keep yourself pinned down in that spot, and just collect those loose stragglers. That's it. And I feel like that's been working so far. They're still there in the top 8, so it's definitely working. God's Reign, bit of that chip damage against the Player's Assault, but it's not going to be enough to do anything, so that's not going to hold a lot of value. MDR around the playing fields and the turf of K9 eSports, and MDR, these shots, they're definitely deadly. Pine, who was not able to find that sweet spot yet, but this nade might just do it. It's probably a toss to perfection as well, but luckily enough, Ninja Boy moves away at the nick of time. So MTR, they do not get anything in their hands.
I think it's the lack of information. K9 eSports, ideally, they engage in these fights and they go heads first. But right now, another fight breaking out. Mysterious 4 going up against Nongshim Red Force. Bunny wanted to go for the swing, but it's going to be Vinny who gets the better out of him, as Omega still eyeing out for a trade.
Oh, no.
Trying to climb the stairs, and now even Mysterious 4 doubling down on the aggression. Snowjaw pushing through. He gets the knock. Vinny has no answers. As Mysterious 4, they're starting to take over. Doxy, the last man surviving, does not have a lot to work with. His position's absolutely compromised, and Mysterious 4 prioritizing on the revives and the Far Fray. You still have Aiku Soul, eyes pinned in.
That's some mind-blowing stuff from Snowjaw. That's the MVP confidence right there. Did not even flinch before making that move. Straight up rushed in through the stairs and got the knock. Snowjaw. That's what you like to see. Dominating these fights, and now Nongshim Red Force, they probably never saw this coming. Completely caught off guard. Doxy. He knows what Mysterious 4 is doing, spreading themselves out, but Hero knows exactly where Doxy is. And this nade, it's going to be the deal sealer, as that's going to be on the point. Solid stuff from Mysterious 4, eliminating even the likes of Nongshim.
And then you have K9 once again back to this fight, but what a beautiful display of valor coming in from Mysterious 4. Instantly got back after the players of Nongshim Red Force, but now seems like the dust has settled. Or has it? Because even once again the circle has shifted away, Necro. And GDR still holding on to the central areas with Mad Kings around them. Aiku Soul around the northwestern side, and Beast, he readies up that grenade. Aibo could be the victim, but for Reject, they've also decided to rotate. They've got Reignite right in front of them.
Reject Apollo and Sarah right next to each other. The first two games, not exactly the Reject way, but this time, they're trying to bring in that controlling pace. They're playing it passive, defensive. God's Reign now being charged up by the players of Mad Kings. It's not a good position to be trapped in for God's Reign, but they need to work with this. Neo, the man's trapped all by himself in the upper floor, tossing the utilities to try and stop that aggression coming through from Mad Kings, but it's really not making a difference. Nebula from the back, finding that knock on Neo, and God's Reign, they're in a big world of trouble as Clutch God's Reign gonna make that push, and even the second man of God's Reign goes down. Nebula just gifting the frags to Mad Kings and the fight as well.
Yeah, God's Reign not really pleased with what just happened. Playing around a 2-2 split, and suddenly Mad Kings, they just go all in. But indeed, it was Nebula that gave them that initial nudge. And Mad Kings just caught the heads and ripped it off. As for GDR, now Destro, Justin, previous game Erangel, we saw GDR showing that string of consistency. But this time, the odds are stacked against them, with Mad King still having those numbers. And again, now they have to make a very heavy call. Do they go in for the push, which eventually would expose them to threats from elsewhere? Or are they going to hold on to this compound? That's the question.
In my opinion, God's Reign, if they really wanted, they could have actually provided the cover fire as well. Maybe the players could have tossed out the smokes and reunite once again. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They could have laid out a smoke pathway and close on up towards the compound. Or towards that house.
That's where their visions were blocked, right? Everything happened so fast. Nobody expected Nebula to find that opener, and then Clutch got suddenly took that moment of surprise in his favor and got that knock. And till then, once those two players were done, I think there was no respite. And GDR decided to rather play it safe. But Mysterious 4, they've been causing a lot of ruckus. This time going after the players of Aiku Soul. And now it's all about who has the center. Reject out in the open a little bit. It's extremely dangerous there. Everybody eyeing out Where does the next hardship go? And in the next couple of moments, maybe we might find an answer.
I'm not really liking what's happening with K9 eSports. It's like they're an open feast waiting to be devoured. Even CAG from the back were taking those constant shots. They were proven to be a major threat. But as of now, CAG is going to back away. Respect the players of K9 eSports and see what their game plan's going to be. Mad Kings, that separation not working out, as Shadow is going to be the first man to fall down. And CAG, now they start to spread their wings once again.
This is typical Shadow, right?
Yeah. That spread not working out, and within the blink of an eye, the entirety of K9 eSports, they've been eliminated from the game. With a bit of that contribution even coming through from Nebula eSports. It was D plus Kia. Oh no, it was not D plus, it was actually DRX who puts him to sleep.
Yeah, oh my god, I mean, that's unbelievable. For K9, this is as worse as it can get. Just 9 points collected and still parting away from the lobby. Aiku Soul finding some solidity there. Mysterious 4 having that higher ground. They're yet to enter inside the zone now. It seems like they want to pick a bone against the likes of Aiku Soul. Legit, Copley, Knuckle. 3 of these players playing together. Even for Aiku Soul, they also need to address the issues at hand. The next circle shift will go away from them. And given the fact, Necro, that reject, they're also on the edges. Seems like we could see a fight between these two teams. Maybe for the contention around the center, still held on by Mad Kings as MITR losing in. But Adi, he's got his eyes fixated. MTR coming in. It's going to be Pine. And there you go. He goes home. Nomi getting that elimination, and MTR, they're eliminated.
Could not really do a lot in that given situation, but now for Soul, it's going to be Mysterious 4 knocking on the doors as Legit. He welcomes them with open arms. That DBS burst to the face. That's going to stop him in tracks. And Soul, they can continue their wrath as Mysterious 4, they're being manhandled. Another nade tossed out, and that's going to do a lot of damage. Legit is all by himself around this playing field as Knuckle is away from Legit, but still the utilities from Legit. They find some crucial knocks.
Beautiful
connections, precision on point, and Legit is really dictating this fight.
Absolutely loving how they are trading against each other there.
Oh my god,
Once again, Legit, he goes big, and this time he's got a big shark there. Snowjawed out of commission. Legit still has that one grenade to play around. He's got Knuckle for assistance, but the IGL, he's feeling all that heat. Somehow did manage to dodge it out. Bunny's still alive, and Knuckle and Legit, this time in tandem, pushing together. And Legit is taking quite a hefty blow. Surely Knuckle has to go for the trade.
Just on the back of the utilities, Legit's making a lot of moves, but now Knuckle, he turns around and slaps him down. Mysterious 4 eliminated from the game with 7 finishes. They've done the job. They've got the average points. But for Soul, this is one of those big games that we're searching for. 10 finishes already on the block, and they're not done yet.
They certainly aren't, but still, man losses, chicken dinner would be quite difficult, but for True Rippers, Jelly, the last surviving member, he's got a lot on his plate right now, needs to get Kyo back to life, and also at the same time, deal with the threat for JP. We've got Hollywood, he's getting that revive, Sixter somehow keeping things at bay, trying to keep their heads above the water as Nebula quickly rotating. Mad King still playing around the center. As for Jelly and Kyolamau, now it's going to be a 2-on-2 fight. Hollywood not having the best of HPs. I feel like he's out of meds now.
True Rippers. Oh no, Jelly getting caught off guard. Showed his back at the wrong time and reignite. They once again start to reignite the flame of hope. That's True Rippers. There's a big chance they will be eliminated without getting anything in the hand. And Kyo whiffing all those shots. How often do you see Kyo whiff a shot like that?
Yeah, that's what pressure does to you. Really feeling the heat, and that True Rippers succumbing to that. But for Nebula, all good in the hood. GDR survived with just 2 players. Mad Kings still have their numbers up, but DRX, this is where the Korean excellency really comes in. They've been staying aloof from those fights, getting those mid fights, getting those early finishes, and now they've got a nice position to play around.
Oh, reignite. The man was out in the open. Yamak still behind that tree, but eventually Takis, he does a perfect job. Legit suppressed as of now in the entirety of Seoul. Intention suppressed. They cannot even keep on applying that pressure since Knuckles busy going for that revival. 10 frags already on the board. And Seoul, they want to continue their domination, but one nade! It's going to find a quick two-piece and reignite! They stopped the igniting flames of Seoul right in the tracks!
And this was much needed. This is signature ignite. Again, being very patient. Catching the players off guard of Team Seoul, but for now, reignite. They've got their attention towards Nebula. Slightly out in the open. They've got a couple of vehicles to play around, but Nebula going after the players of JPX. One player surviving, 3 in front of them, has the lower ground, but Nebula, they also need to be careful. DRX on the higher ground, they need to deal with it, and there you go. Adi strikes once again.
As the Adi gets knocked out as well. Nebula, not a lot of playing space. They're getting suffocated to death. JP, they have been consistent so far, but in this game, maybe surviving till the top 5 is going to be tough. But at least they got the elimination points then, so that's going to be the cushion they need.
Now for Hollywood, being the final player surviving, I don't think there's a potential chance where he could have Sixter back on his feet. For now, DRX still having that higher ground, and Seishe is going to make the best out of that situation. DRX slowly but surely starting to take over as Nebula still shrouded inside that smoke. DRX have them pinned out, and this is where Nebula, they have to come up with some sort of theatrics, maybe some sort of a wild swing, catch the players of DRX off guard, but again, DRX having that higher ground makes it even also difficult. And even for the players of Reignite, seems like they might have also bowed out.
Nebula, Kratos, Adi, Nomi, still surviving. These 3 players, they possess a lot of threat to DRS. And even DRX can possess a lot of threat to them. Nebula with 4 finishes so far. The previous game, it was an explosive performance from them. But in this one, Nebula is holding back. Nebula's already got the desired amount of points they needed in that previous game itself. So now Nebula can be a little bit laid back. But I'm pretty sure Nebula is aiming for a win as well.
Yeah, they're laid back, but surely not slacking. For Nebula, 4 finishes still now. If they can get a back-to-back, that would be amazing. Especially when you talk about it. Nebula, we have seen them cause so many mischief in the Indian lobby, and now when the international teams are here, surely have left an impression. But look at that northwestern side, right? You've got CAG Osaka, GDR, they are yet to get inside the zone. But Mad Kings, they have been hunkering down at this exact spot. Took down 2 players of GDR, holding it, still the circle favoring them. But for Nebula, this is a fight I really want to see commence.
Nebula is staying put because they know DRX has got the high ground.
Yeah.
The moment Nebula moves out in the open or reveal too much, DRX will have the upper advantage anyways. And that's why Nebula is not really making a lot of moves. God's Reign slowly and steadily closing up now, finally realizing they do not really have a lot of options. They need to go for this fight against Mad Kings. Utilities being traded from both the sides, but none of them are able to find any sort of connection. This nade, though, it's going to chip a lot of damage away. Apollo trapped in the corner, second util tossed out. And this might just force Apollo out of his comfort zone. But Justin, he runs out of those frag grenades. Even a fight between Nebula and DRX comes through as the trades are happening back and forth. Mad Kings, they lose out on Apollo, and God's Raid, they've been eliminated from this game. Final man was caught taking a nap.
The young prodigy, he strikes. Ivis Pro finding a different angle, but Clutch God, look at him, pressed upon like that as Osaka brings in all that heat. Clutch God not having the best of HPs. There you go, it Garnet. Gets that opener. Mad Kings in a world of trouble as Pro has to double around, still fight back, and he does. Not refusing to bow down over here. And now for CAG Osaka, Garnet, the last member surviving, 2 players pushing in at the same time. One goes down, but denied. Mad Kings, they go huge. Pro again making a prolific play over there.
Absolutely mad. Mad Kings, what a play that was. None of us even dreamed of Mad Kings clutching out that fight in such a way. And now all I can say is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Indian lobby.
Indeed, what a statement. We have been doing that quite a lot, and I'm loving every time we do that. And why not? Down to the final two. Two Indian teams in contention. Nebula on the verge of a back-to-back, and Matt Kings on the verge of pulling off a biggie. Apollo Pro, 2 players surviving. Adi, Nomi, it's a proper 2-on-2. But if you ask me, Nebula, they've got the better lay of the land. They've got the better position right now. And Matt Kings, they surely have the momentum.
Matt Kings out in the open, traversing. It's an uphill battle for Matt Kings. Not a lot of chances they can actually win this unless they somehow manage to find the first knock. That's going to instill a lot of fear. But the way Nebula spread out as well, I highly doubt Matt King knows what exactly is going on around them. Apollo priming up an aid. He still has got no clue that they've already separated up. Adi's flanking all the way from the left side, and Nomi's all the way around the right. And Nomi might just have the surprising effect. Utilities tossed right next to Nomi, and that nade! It's gonna find the right mark! Matt Kings! It feels like this team is possessed with a demon.
Yeah, absolute instincts.
And at this point, no one can stop Matt Kings. They're playing like they're meant possessed. And Nebula eSports, the consistency has been remarkable. 4 nades in the hands of Adi. The game's not done yet. Matt Kings, they haven't sealed the deal yet. And what is Adi doing? Oh no, he accidentally blew himself up.
Ooh, that could have been really close.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Indeed, but still, now his position is compromised, and now Matt Kings, they've got the tips, everything, the scales, favoring them. And now Adi, he looks a little helpless. He's starting to feel quite nervy there. But Matt Kings, they really want to take this one slow. Apollo and Pro, they know they've got this in the bag. All they need to do is be clinical. Maybe one more grenade. But for Adi, if he can take one down, things will instantly change.
Utility is not finding the mark for Adi, and once again, another nade messed up. I'm not sure what Adi's doing. He's constantly maybe fat-fingering that trigger button. And that's why the Utilities is messing him up. Blue's on the move from the back, and Adi, he needs to be on his feet. That tree's not going to be with him for too long, and soon the man's going to be exposed, but Adi knows. Pro's already made the moves. Looking towards the left side. Apollo. Still waiting for Adi to just step out in the open, and yeah, he's going to accept the fate. Adi knows he can't do anything. He knows he cannot really clutch it out, so he just Molotovs himself to death. For Nebula, it was still quite a solid game, but Matt Kings, oh, what a Matt performance that was.
It is indeed a mad performance indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Indian lobbies here. 3 back-to-back wins for India. And once again, what seemed to be a possible win for the Koreans and the Japanese teams. In one fell swoop, the final 2 teams remaining is going to be Matt Kings as well as Nebula eSports. They clutches it big time here in day 1. 3 games and pass. And things are not looking good for the international teams.
Yeah, true. But still, if you really look at the players of DRX and JPX, the way they played, I feel like JPX as well did quite decent. DRX as well had a lot of elimination points overall. But you can clearly see the coaches just sitting in the back lines looking at the games, disappointed with the performance. But this clutch from Matt Kings, oh man, it was insane. First eliminating God's Reign, then instantly shifting their focus towards CAG and eliminating them too from the game. It was insane.
Yeah. I loved how Matt Kings really played the entire game through and through about. You saw them initially, they went for the center, took down 2 players of GDR, and they hunkered down to that spot for a long time. They had a push coming on, they defended that. Out of nowhere, CAG Osaka then decides to press in, and then you could see that pro brilliance really coming into play. This young lad, he has been drawing a lot of eyeballs towards him.
You know, one thing I really realized in that final moments was that obviously pro, big, insane clutch here to actually allow Matt Kings to head into the final fight. But you have to give credit to what Adi was doing, right? People were asking, oh, even if you guys as well, what was he doing with the nades as well? He was actually faking out with the intention of baiting in a sense where, they think there's someone here. There's a nade on this spot. So most likely from Mad King's perspective is that he is going to be tossing the nade from a different direction. And you can see multiple instances where Mad Kings was actually turning their attention somewhere else to try and find him. But eventually Adi tried his best, had no more space, and had no choice but to deny his points.
Yeah, but then there was also one of the points where Adi's position was already revealed and he still tossed it right on his feet.
Which is weird, right? Mad Kings actually doubted themselves. If you think about it.
You know, to be honest, really, it was Mad King's game to lose. Also, in fact, Nebula's game to lose.
True. They had the high ground.
They had the high ground.
Yeah.
And that was where we saw Nomi. I think Mad Kings relied on their hunch. They had this feeling that maybe there could be somebody behind that car, and they threw that grenade. And somehow at the right spot, and then we saw tables turning.
Well, for all things considered here, the momentum is swinging in India's favor here for past 3 games here. And Nebula eSports is at the tip of the top. Will they be able to continue their momentum is going to be the question, but we will have to see right after this break.
Welcome back after that break, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, 3 matches left for the day. It has been an incredible start of the journey, especially for the teams that are supported by the home crowd. Mad Kings getting a chicken dinner, and Nebula eSports. How much more consistent do we want them to be? 3 games, they've done quite phenomenal for themselves.
I'm loving every bit of Nebula that I'm witnessing. The first game of Erangel, we saw them go all guns blazing. They had a lot of finishes. Now you could see those layerings really come into play, where they also showcase that defensively, even they're superior, especially how they held up against DRX. I loved it.
Yeah, the aggression was just phenomenal as well. And even in the final moments where they were in that Harry Potter tower as well, they were surrounded by every single angle. And what's really interesting was that because they held their ground, every single team had to rotate around them, which eventually led to them taking each other out. So great positionings, great decisions coming from Nebula eSports, and I'm curious to see how the MVP is.
Well, I want to see who the MVP is, not how the MVP is. In fact, how he became the MVP was those 5 finishes and 875 damage, to be honest. And of course, DRX, it was bound to happen eventually. They are going to get used to the pace of play over here. And it seems like this game, at least they found those finishes for themselves.
So this was one of those games where I really thought that Nebula outplayed them in terms of defense against DRX. When we know that DRX had been extremely patient, initially what did they do? They started off taking some mid-fights, getting some finishes here and there, eventually transitioning into having that northeastern area to themselves. And all these teams fighting it out while DRX felt like their hands went cold, because all the other teams, Indian teams, they are fighting left, right and center, let's be honest.
I mean, I agree with you on that. That is true. But I think the one thing I disagree on is this hand went cold kind of a situation. Because that's DRX, their situation was nice, their position was nice, but from the top of that hill, when you're trying to pounce down, you are going to walk into the line of fire of not just Nebula, you're going to walk into the line of fire of God's Reign as well, who was still present in that fight.
That's the problem, right? Where was the initiation coming from DRX? The proactive plays were really not there. You could not see those utilities being tossed out.
Yep, I agree. And right now, from this game onwards here, there were 3 teams that really stepped it up as well here. They took them a little bit of time here, but I'm really glad that these 3 teams actually stepped up. Number 1, it is going to be Mad Kings. Number 2 is going to be Seoul. And number 3 is going to be DRX. These are the 3 teams that have finally found a little bit of footing here to give them the leeway to try and chase for the number 1 spot. Because DRX, with that performance coming in, they are on 6th position. But Mad Kings, with that chicken dinner, puts themselves in towards the top 3. And guess what? All 3 teams that have gotten a chicken dinner are now in the top 3.
Yeah, and they've got a nice little safety cushion to work with as well when it comes to the team that are not off to a great start yet. But I have to say, as you mentioned, Seoul, they bounced back in this game of Erangel, but fixes. 1 position point, 15 finishes for Seoul.
At least they got 1 in this one, so that is something that they can really work with. But yeah, coming to Team Seoul, I think this was the game that was not much needed from their side, and I think they will have to build it up from here.
Although, I mean, we've been focusing a lot about the teams that we know a lot about. Let's focus on the X Factors. I see at the start of the day you were talking about how there's big hope from the champions of their respective regions, both South Korea and Japan. Well, Reject is sitting there with 1 point per game in the last 3 games. They have 3 points on the board.
I'm actually very surprised from Reject as well, considering that a lot of us have a lot of expectations as well based on the results, their performance as well. When I first saw the Scream matches yesterday, I could see very apparent DRX and also D+K was doing really well.
Yeah.
But Reject, I was like, oh, maybe I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, maybe they're saving strategies. But today, they're just nowhere to be found, which is kind of surprising for me.
Even in this previous game, we saw them trying to execute a weird rotation because they kind of hunkered down around a wooden shack which was out in the open. They had Reignite, and suddenly they realized that, oh, it's Reignite and a team from their region in front of them, and them not having info about that. Now that is surprising, and this happens when you play in a different lobby altogether.
Agreed.
Everybody was holding off strats in the dry runs. Now when the real play has commenced, Reject, they're feeling uncomfortable.
All right, apart from Reject, any other name that you feel, quickly, just the name, who you feel had a lot of, burden on their shoulders, haven't delivered?
D+K.
They
haven't delivered.
Pretty much, but ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if you are in the arena, Salty is coming for you. Let's head towards Salty.
Much casters, मेरे साथ अभी जुड़े हुए Proxy from Nebula eSports, जो इनके coach है, and is also officially India's youngest coach. Proxy, I want to know from you, पहले 2 मुकाबले खत्म हो चुके हैं, and as a coach, international teams के बारे में आपका क्या रीड है?
एज अ कोच मेरा यही रीड है अभी कि स्टार्टिंग के 2 मैचेस में उन लोगों को भी समझने का टाइम चाहिए कि इंडियन लॉबी कैसे चलती है, क्योंकि 8 यहाँ पे इंडिया की टीम है और 4 अलग अलग रीजन की टीम. तो आई गेस वो अभी रीड करके ही खेल रहे हैं कि हाँ उनको पता चल जाए डे 2 और डे 3 के लिए प्रिपेयर्ड हो जाए.
That is a very interesting read by the way. So हम expect कर सकते हैं कुछ suspenses. But Nebula eSports का एक बहुत बड़ा chicken dinner आया है with 19 finishes. Is it the start of a big domination arc?
देखो मेरे लिए तो ये है कि नेवर सेलिब्रेट टू अर्ली. पहली चीज ये. दूसरी चीज ये है कि हाँ स्टार्ट अच्छा हुआ है. अब हम कोशिश करेंगे कि डे 1 पे ही लीड ले लें ताकि डे 2 डे 3 पे जब वो रीड करके आए या फिर अपना जो मेन कार्ड प्ले करने आए उसको हम एनकाउंटर कर सके अपने साइड से.
I think that is a lovely answer. Final question. Nebula eSports की जो लाइनअप है, हमने कुछ महीने पहले देखा था एक कैंपस टूर्नामेंट खेल रही थी. Now they are in international waters. इस परफॉर्मेंस का श्रेय आप किसको देना चाहोगे?
एज अ कोच इसका जो क्रेडिट है वो मैं पूरी टीम को दूंगा, क्योंकि एक प्लेयर टीम को पूरा ऊपर नहीं ले जा सकता और डुबा नहीं सकता. तो यहाँ पे जो 4 बंदे हैं, 5 बंदे या पूरी जो नेबुला है वो साथ में वर्क करती है ऐसे कि हम इतनी जल्दी इस चीज के कैपेबल हो पाए कि हम इंटरनेशनल स्टेज पे खेल रहे हैं और अभी PMGC के लिए हम ट्राई कर रहे हैं.
W mindset, W performance, and I think इसी तरह Nebula eSports बहुत आगे बढ़ती रहेगी. But over to you casters, because हमारे matches चलते रहेंगे.
So that was the coach of Nebula eSports. Kind of had a lot to say about how the competition is faring up, what's going on in their heads. And of course, Nebula eSports, I mean, everyone was placing this team as one of the dark horses going into this tournament. And not just from like our region, but like overall the 16 teams combined in general. Nebula eSports was supposed to be the dark horse, but win the first 3 games, they've had a phenomenal run. The question is, do we see them falling off? Because compared to everyone else, this team is still a little bit inexperienced. A little bit.
Yeah. When we talk about firepower as well, especially in earlier 2025 and then earlier stages of the tournament from BMSD, from etc. as well, Nebula eSports does have the capabilities similar to K9 eSports. But when it comes to grand finals, people were like, oh no, K9 is going to choke, they're going to not do well and etc. It kind of happened. But what's really surprising is that Nebula Esports has learned from their mistakes and experience, and they actually backed it up.
Hey, but as we talk about teams, we need to have a look at the individuals playing for those teams as well. We have the MVP of the tournament, the leaderboard on our screens. Hero from Mysterious 4 leading the charge, followed by Kratos from Nebula and Phoenix as well. Then on the fourth, we have Yunbin from DRX and Nagon from Reignite. Reignite and DRX both playing second fiddle to Diplaskia and Reject, but these second fiddles are making sure that they're going to be the heroes of their stories, at least in the BMIC. They have the momentum, at least somewhat. Can they keep this going? But these are the individuals that are getting the finishes. Let's move forward, have a look at the best IGLs as well. And of course, it's going to be Adi, who has managed to secure the first position in the overall leaderboard, followed by Bunny from Mysterious 4. Then we have Sporta from JP, Jelly from True Rippers, and QXG from DRX. I think it wouldn't be wrong of me to say that Bunny is someone no one expected to be on the second. Mysterious 4, I mean, they came unexpected.
Let's be very honest, Johnny. Heading on into this tournament, if you had asked me or any other talent, they would have said from the Indian teams, either OG, True Rippers, Soul, or GDR. But who are we seeing on top? Nobody was talking about Mad Kings. Nobody was talking about Nebula. Everybody had that thought that, yeah, Nebula could be the wild stick. They could just swing anywhere and anything could happen. But now they are showing promise. But Mysterious 4, I had a quick word with Omega. He said, nobody's rooting for us. Nobody expected us to be here. We have no pressure at all. I have so much to prove. He took me down the lanes of Kochi, where him representing the colors of Team Forever, and they lifted the podium. He wants it all. He departed from his team, and Mysterious 4, they are certainly a solid bunch.
No, to be honest, this is where things get a little bit skewed as well. It's only been 3 matches. This data can skew very, very fast as well, because the total, we are going to be playing a total of 18 matches here. So unless we have the halfway point, which is pretty much passed so far, which is going to be tomorrow's games, things are not exactly set in stone yet. So one good game from any other teams, you are going to be bounced back. We saw how Mad Kings, they weren't really performing first 2 games. One chicken dinner, boom, they're now in top 3. So it's still too early to count.
They are in top 3, but my only thing is that I love numbers, right?
Yep.
And I feel as long as in an 18-game finale, if you are doing better than 10 points per match, you're going to be good. You're going to be contending for the trophy. Right now, 2 teams have been able to maintain that average. Mysterious 4 and Nebula Esports. Nebula Esports, I think they're doing like 13 points per game.
Yeah, they are. I mean,
that is very, very close as well. But at the same time, can they make it consistent is going to be the question as well. Because when we talk about day 1, day 2, day 3 progressions, day 1 is all about your prep work, your startup and stuff like that. Day 2 is all about adaptations and comebacks. And we've seen coaches from the international teams with 6 layers of analysts and pages of just information all the way through. You know they are going to be analyzing everything.
On that note, because I 100% agree with you, I saw it happen backstage, massive discussions going on as to how they want to bounce back. But because of this, fixes, day number 2 is when we expect these teams from South Korea and Japan to actually come back hitting hard, especially teams like Diplaskia, teams like Reject, for example. But does that also mean that today is very important for Mysterious 4, for Nebula, for True Rippers, for Mad Kings to actually get a very big lead, stay ahead of the competition so that if things go wrong tomorrow, you still do maintain a position from where on day 3 you can fight back?
Not really, because honestly speaking, they have been playing months, they've been playing lands, they've got a lot of experience now, they've somehow soaked in all that pressure also. So for Nebula, it's high time we treat Nebula, even Mysterious 4, with a little bit more respect, and they have earned it, right? They are the top 8 teams from India, they've made it so far, but still those lingering doubts always being thrown, those questions have always been thrown at them. Somewhere down the line, we need to accept that this team can also win championship, and we need to start treating them like that.
I mean, right now, they have made sure that there are going to be a few believers in the crowd cheering their name and hoping that at the end of game number 13 on Sunday evening, it is going to be an Indian banner lifting that trophy. But ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we still have a long way to go, and coming right up is going to be game number 4 of the day, Erangel. Here we go.
Well, Well, ladies and gentlemen, game 4 on its way, and things are going to get very, very spicy here. Will we see a team rise up to the challenge like how Mad Kings and Nebula eSports do? Because this is going to be the final Erangel for today itself.
Yeah, at the final time we see the greener pastures turning left, after which we will have games with Miramar. But now this time the flight path trajectory completely different. I'm hoping to see a slightly different circle. Have had enough of things happening around east. Maybe I see let's go down south. So Snovka military base, what's your take?
Well, I'm curious to see if God's Train is going to be switching up their rotation. That's for sure. God's Train does like to go to his military base a little bit more, regardless of whatever. But it seems like based on this flight path, they are taking an early rotation up towards the north side, so they are going to be dodging a couple of teams. And because of this interesting of a skewed flight path as well, I know for a fact that at the start of the day of Erangel, we do see teams has pretty much found their drop spots. No major drop clashes. But with this skewed coming into play, we might see a potential skirmish onto his God's Train's favor. But for Mad Kings, they're pretty much uncontested in Georgia Post so far. They are pretty much, they've given away Hospital and went towards South George. But we might expect companies coming from True Rippers and Mysterious 4 as well. But from what I see, Mad Kings, very, very nice bounce back coming from them. But seeing how the zone is going to be shifting south as well, they have to move fast.
They certainly have to. Now, we did talk about GBR, and we've been talking about it over and over again. Even in the showdown, we saw in such situation, they kind of had that tendency to even go venture out Zaki, but I see no purpose. Maybe GDR, again, like I see you mentioned, they might take that longer stretch, maybe head out towards military base and then come back. But this is where we're seeing some change happening. Since the circle has shifted, this time towards the western side, you could see DRX instantly going for the center. And JPX, they've also been doing the very same thing. All the 2 games of Erangel, they have been eyeing out on around the central areas, trying to hold it out and make a play. But here, 2 teams thinking alike, we know what's about to happen. They might clash.
You know, at the start of year of here in BGMI as well, like when the new meta zone shifted as well, people have realized that, hey, center control do have one of the highest tendency to win. But here in BMIC, things have gotten a little bit different as well. It's the aggression that is winning them the games. And so far, I would say the Korean and Japanese teams hasn't been able to adapt to unexpected aggression where normally people would not push. You will expect third parties, you would expect fourth parties as well. And I think one of the teams that were caught off guard the most right now is D plus Kia, because they were third party and targeted, I would say, multiple times from OG. And things hasn't been looking good for D plus Kia.
But still, you know, in the previous game, they did get their revenge. D plus Kia going up against OG, did wipe OG off. And, no, even for Orangutan, the champions of Showdown, they've already earned this spot in the GC. But this time, we could see them. They were not prepared. But then Naikusol really barged in. And this time around, JPX right next to them. And Joker Goblin moving together. Spotter, he peeks out, takes a couple of shots. Joker, quite difficult there. But look at Legit. He's found an opener. Hollywood, he's down.
Yeah, JPX pretty much being shut down as well. Knuckle, he was traded off. Nice little bit of recovery here, but JPX, they got picked off, 2 down. And they are not looking to try and pick this fight here, but so they are going to try and reposition this. Meanwhile, Nebula having a little bit of a run in here with CAG Osaka. And now Sheep holds the shotgun. The rush comes through. Adi almost gets taken out, but he is going to be knocked off. Nomi going to be holding the angle, but Sheep picks from a cheeky angle, takes him out, and now only Phoenix remain. But he was able to clean them out from the back lines. From an off angle, Nebula, they hold on. They get the 4 frags.
What and how? I'm still trying to process that. Whilst the boys from Nebula were fighting it out, Phoenix seemed to have had the perfect angle, as a result of which they survived this early threat. Really came down to the wire, didn't it?
My goodness, Phoenix, just a pixel of a angle from the door frame. He was able to get that gun down, but if he could not get those finishes, I would say Nebula is done for in that fight. They would have lost 3 bodies in the process here to CAG Osaka. However, he did not do so. He was able to clutch things out, so a big win here for Nebula eSports. However, unfortunate to say for CAG Osaka, well, they are eliminated, being the first team here in this game.
Now, interestingly enough, we're seeing the dynamics change of how teams are constantly adapting in Erangel. This time, we have teams like Aiku Soul, again DRX, everybody trying to play around the center. DRX reading the room, understanding the fact that Soul, they've captured that Fairy Pier region. They had to settle with Primox. They've gone slightly towards the edges, but Mysterious 4, And Mad Kings rotating together, making the road. They have been aggressive. They've been trying to get a couple of finishes, but those position points I see, that's been a cause of concern for them.
Now let's take a look at the replay here on how things actually happen as well, because we saw how Shape was able to shut down Adi, finds an off angle, takes Nomi down, looks really good, but he was only the last player left. And like you said, you see from afar, Phoenix through the door frame was able to pick up the last player, and you can see the sighs and reliefs coming from Adi and the backstop as well. He's like, oh wait, we lost that fight, right? Oh my goodness, what a clutch reaction coming from them.
No, that was unbelievable, really. Would have loved to see from his perspective.
I thought for a second you did not believe that there was the conversations that's happening behind them.
Exactly, I really thought that, okay, fine, Nebula, they had 2 consistent games, but maybe this is where they meet their makers, but seems like Nebula, this is what I've been talking about, right? They've got that champion's DNA finally inside of them. They're starting to believe in each other, the teamwork really working out, and this is a team that was just formed 3 months ago. And this is a team that was initially started with 3 underdogs along with Adi. So I think if you talk about improvement, I think Nebula, they've made the most.
I agree. Sometimes luck and skill plays a huge factor when it comes to competition here. But speaking of which here, Mysterious 4, they checked out the vicinity here. DRX saw Snowjaw trying to back out, trying to get a couple shots in. But unfortunately, will not find connection. So DRX will let this slide as the circle does push on towards Primor's side. And look at this, DRX, they're trying to gatekeep everyone from the high grounds inside Primor's, expecting no entry into Primor's itself. So a very interesting approach here from DRX on how they're trying to set things up in the macro gameplay. Whereas for D plus Kia, they do have a little bit of a slow push here as well. They're they're doing their due diligence really well, but this is very, very inefficient right now. And who could blame them, considering that after 3 games, they've been completely dived on by multiple teams, not just once, 3 games in a row.
Let's be really honest, this is again another conversation we had in the desk, where I was of the opinion that mathematically it's an Indian lobby, right? 8 Indian teams, so you're supposed to be adapting to their style of play. And D plus Kia has been showing those intentions like they're doing right now. They've got the players of Nongshim Red Force right in front of them, and Nobu way out in the open. Previous INKR, we saw him. He was that MVP of the tournament, and he had a lot of strong statements even this time around. He's come in for the prize, and now for Reignite. They're also making their way inside the zone, finding a good spot for them. But for Mad Kings, again, look at that. If you could have the map feed in front of us, they've captured the center once again.
Yeah, we shall see whether or not if the circle actually shifts in towards Quarry as well, considering the fact that the circle is going to be unpredictable. It might shift back towards the south of Gatka, it might shift to Quarry, it might shift into towards Fairy Pier. It's still in the gray area. It's only stage 1, but it's about to completely close down in 10 seconds left. You can see teams are starting to prepare themselves to get out. So, however, on the move, trying to protect those hovercraft, and God's Reign, a very interesting switch up in terms of weaponries here. The DP in play, but seeing how the circle is shifting, it is going to be all the way in Primos. This is second circle shift, but we are going to be seeing a very, very early gun battle between all 16 teams, because this is Circle 2, but everybody's going to have to play this like Circle 4, Circle 5 now.
And look at this, Soul trying to go on a chase right on the tails of the players of Reject. Have to exercise caution. Knuckle, he's taken quite some damage there, but still Soul did not really want to engage in. The Goblin this time slightly out in the open. And now legit, he's got that hovercraft to play around. Reject, everybody is making a mad dash to find those perfect spots, and especially those hilly areas. The one spot that Reject they're targeting as JPX, they run right next to them. And even Orangutan, they're in the vicinity. It's a mad scramble. It feels like somebody has opened up the Pandora's box. It is going to be absolute pandemonium.
Yeah, it is insane as well. You can see everyone is just going panic as well. God's Reign, they tried to take high ground. Reject was just right beside them. That's going to be a free point for them. And God's Reign, however, on the move, they were able to find a couple of stragglers, and that's going to be Artenki that gets taken out as well. Every single team is looking for some sort of safe space, some sort of safety net. And this is going to be a test of skills for all the teams here because this is not going to be a position game. This is going to be a hit and run or maybe third-party city center because right now Mysterious 4 on the mountain terrain, expecting company a push coming from Reignite, and they get completely shut down. A fantastic defense coming from Mysterious 4 at the hilltop on Primos. But inside the city, we do see Mad Kings also fighting against Rejects, but Rejects clutching things big time, shutting down Mad Kings.
Yeah, it was fights happening out, but this time Mad Kings did not have Pro to save their souls. Clutch God eventually had to bow down, but this is where majority of these teams made that mistake, right? Everybody wanted to play for the center, and then there were teams like D+, Kia, Nongshim, Red Force. They avoided it. They let every other team fight it out, whilst they have so much space now for which they can contest. Even for GDR, constantly in between all those fights. This time against True Rippers, trades from both their sides, Reignite, even after those losses. Still yet to find their finish and not having that perfect footing. I see Reignite. They really need to bounce back in this one.
Well, interesting enough, from this position, you can see Reignite. He is going to be expecting so much company on every single direction, whereas DRX, one of the first teams inside Primos, was able to call dibs, and they've got a wide spread onto the city center and onto the outskirts as well. They've got a very, very wide spread to play with, while everybody is playing on the outskirts of Primos. We are going to be expecting a little bit of an urban warfare, but for Mysterious 4 on the minimap as well, you can see on the west side, they are playing Hilltop, so they have no reason to engage. All they need to do is just punish every single team inside the city who's trying to rotate in between the houses to try and find space inside the zone. But based on how the zone's shifting, it is going to shift on towards Mysterious 4. Every single team inside Primos needs to get out, and Mysterious 4 is going to be up for open duck hunting season. Meanwhile, we have a team that's think outside the box. MTR are going to be playing the ocean rotation from the south side.
Absolutely. You know, this is what I was really concerned about. And that was really good of you to bring up DRX having that 3-1 split, because Sakshay, he was playing a little aloof from his teammates. But now that the circle has formed, I think he's going to regroup. But for MTR, it's going to be quite concerning, right? With so many teams, maybe having a watch out onto the waters, and they will find some hostile enemy team trying to engage it. But for Mysterious 4, loved how they picked that fight against Reject, knowing what their priorities were, fighting for it, and now they will reap those rewards, I see.
I'm curious to see how MTR is going to play this as well. There's not a lot of space. They are coming from the ocean, but considering that there's still so many teams still alive, I don't think teams are going to be looking at the ocean. They are most likely going to be looking at each other in the urban, and they might be able to find some sort of space inside the shores. Meanwhile, Nebula eSports, they're still outside. They haven't actually made their way through. They're driving outside Fairy Pier, but Phoenix was picked off, and that's going to be Soul that takes them out from the east side. They're still outside the zone, and Soul making the safer play here, which is to pick off all the stragglers outside before making their way through. That pretty much lowers their percentage of surviving in their zone, but it does give them a little bit of time to actually plan and gather the information on how things are happening here. There is 14 teams. Stage 3 made its way. They have to drive past Primos. And fortunately for Soul, there is a lot of space coming from the west side.
Now, to be really honest, I feel like Soul are making a very good call. Slight replay on how that fight it really erupted. Mad Kings trying to go, and it was Reject who clutched it out. I mean, Divine being the last player alive. But coming back to conversation, you know, Team Soul, they had to really pick their timings right. That's where they sort of messed up. You know, that mad frenzy we just got to witness. Everybody was fighting for position, for territory. And Haiku Soul still having all 4 of their players up, still around the edges, but Reject, they refuse to bow down. It's a battle for the hilltop. The king of the hill position has now been claimed by Reject, and now Mysterious 4, they're in a real world of trouble.
Yeah, Mysterious 4 gave up control a little bit too soon. Reject was able to snatch it away. But at the same time, MTR, where was that shot coming from as well? It came in from the shorelines. Reject wasn't expecting this. And it seems like Mysterious 4's call to try and shut down MTR made them give up control of this mountain terrain. And Reject now, they have to go in for the reset. This 3-way showdown inside the center of the zone is going to make a little bit of a space and time for the teams inside Primos to try and push out. But only if they push out now. But again, easier said than done. There's just too many teams inside Primos right now. I count like 6, 7, maybe 8 teams inside Primos right now. And joining them is going to be Nongshin, going to be coming in from the north side as well. Make that 9 teams inside Primos.
Now, this is where I'm really loving what Reject are doing. Now, this was what was needed from the best team from Japan. As for OG, clearly haven't been playing like champions, especially after Rondo. Erangel has been a nightmare, which is supposed to be their strongest map. They've been quite struggling. But you know, the rule of thumb I see usually dictates that the circle is going to move away from Primos. So MTR, I'm really loving their position. But Omega, the last straggler, he was also found. And Mysterious 4, finally, they also bow down.
Great play coming from Reject here because they needed this opportunity. This hilltop is one of the god spots in this moment. And as soon as they realized that Mysterious 4 gave it up, they took it, snatched it, and now they've got the god spot. Meanwhile, outside here, D+K, they've not exactly made their way inside the zone, but they know Nebula eSports is there. A fantastic nade from Noble will clean out Nebula as they will be eliminated this game. And there's going to be a potential new team that is going to be securing a new chicken dinner so far for this match, as 3 of the chicken dinner teams has been taken out in Game 4.
Yeah.
But D+K, their journey is not over yet. They're still taking a lot of pressure from afar, and even Soul is going to be trying to join this fight. And this switch up coming from D+K has somewhat gave them a little bit of opportunity to try and hold on for this zone itself.
Previous game, we saw Ikusol taking down D+Kia. This time, Ikusol, they're going after JPX. Sixter, he opens it up. Knuckle, he's down on his knees as Joker. He needs to muster up courage. He needs to go pushing in, but Sixter, he was so prepared. And Ikusol now in tatters, Goblin legit, having no other options but to hide inside that compound. As for Sixter, that was a play and a half. And Ikusol, this is something that they would regret. But K9, they come hunting in. Reject again, having that higher ground advantage. Nades lobbed, and now Beast. That was really close. Divine somehow escaped by the skin of his teeth.
Exactly, and now K9, they have to be very, very quickly as well. And DRX was able to find Reiji. K9 instantly goes in for the slam. They snatch the point, they clean them out, and now they've got the God Spot. But no, it doesn't matter because from afar, God Spot or not, everybody's going to be looking at you. And K9, they got completely shut down by DRX and also from MTR from the shorelines. Technically, that God Spot no longer looks like a God Spot now.
Again, yes, that's what I was trying to say. The floodgates have opened once again, I see. And could have been the players of Nongshim Red Force. Actually, they were trying to show that intent. But Sixter, oh my god. The single taps with that shotgun. And Joker trying to outplay him. But Sixter, he was always a step ahead. And the moment he opened the door, Joker was clueless, had no idea what was going on. But for Nongshim Red Force, they've shown their intent, and now this is where even MTR, they push in, trying to make their own road. K9, they are in troubled waters. Ninja Boy, he's gotten back on his feet. But if anybody, any 2 players you can really put your money on, would be Ninja Boy and Slug. They are brilliant, they are special.
Agreed, but MTR, they have pulled off one of the most insane rotations thus far from the shorelines, managed to sneak up, and they have put a lot of pressure onto this mountain. And because of this 3-way angle, nobody on the God Spot has able to be hold on because of MTR. Now it makes so much sense why Mysterious 4 had no choice but to focus on MTR first and give up control. And because of that, they all got taken out.
And you know,
as of yet, K9, they're still holding on. It's only Slug and Ninja Boy. But from afar, as this fight drags on longer and longer, things are not going to be looking good if they do not start fragging out. As MTR trying to make a push as well. Slug tries to go for a couple of connections, but no connections so far. MTR still running out open, but eventually finds a knock here from K9 Esports.
this is beautiful. So far, K9, they've been trying to play it to perfection, and now it is going to be Slug's moment as he delivers. Not once, not twice, but thrice. Could be the 4th coming in. This young individual, he's got a lot to prove. We've seen K9 always come close to the very end, and they choke. And this time, K9 Esports having that sublime ground advantage, and now they are actually making it count. MTR, a couple of moments ago, they were traversing through the waters. They tried to go for the climb, but seems like Slug has a different story to tell.
And at the same time as well, now Nongshin, they're trying their best to try and take this out. Ninja Boy is holding down the angles, but Ninja Boy clutches it big time!
Wow!
With a pixel of health, MTR gets shut down, Nongshin gets shut down as well, but it's not over yet for K9. Ninja Boy, they hold on, he gets his health up, he's gonna try and pick himself up, his teammate up as well, as the teams from Primos is trying to get a couple of low blow jabs, but D plus Kia, they've heard all those commotions, and this is going to be very, very important for them.
Indeed. K9 right now at this very moment again. This time it was slightly a little too much as Reignite have K9's number, but valiant effort from the lads. This was much needed for that bounce back, as even for True Rippers, that was amazing. Harsh, Hydro, two players playing together. Jelly, let's see. They have got themselves up together. Smokes laid out near, right in front of Harsh. GDR, they know this should be their game. Still playing around Primosk. Gonna be an interesting affair, because now these smokes have really slowed the pace down. But Destro, he's got a beautiful angle to work with. Has visuals, not just in D plus Kia, but also on the players of DK. But it's gonna be DRX. Eventually you find that opener there. And now Osal on the lower grounds. It's going to be interesting. DK, they have been so opportunistic, I see. They took control when it was needed. And this was a team that was playing from the edges. While so many teams fought for that peak position, it was D plus Kia who realized that this was their moment. It could have really gone in, and they capitalized on that one. But True Rippers still around the center, and now DRX. Let's see what's going to happen next.
My God, look at that shift of the circle fixes. I'm sorry, I had to step in for this one.
You don't sound like Icy, sure, but would love to have you also as well. But now, since you came, the circle took another wild shift.
Yeah.
Would absolutely love that. Your mark now is being pressed upon. The boys from DRX, slowly but surely trying to inch in ever so close. Your mark so far, he's accumulated 2 finishes to his name, but this is going to be an interesting fight as he delivers once again. So easy, he goes down.
Yeah, the first knock secured by a mark, but 3 more players still stand in his way, and they have a hovercraft to work with. He steps out into the open looking for that frag, but still he falls. Valiant effort from Reignite, but look at this. True Rippers on the other side taking on the players of God's Reign, and God's Reign lacking in numbers, can't really do much. True Rippers, brilliant position to work with, but look at the radar fixes. This is what I want to talk about, and this is the reason why all of us want to pile on in this game. D plus Kia taking on OG. They have the higher ground, they have the numbers, but can they win this fight?
The scores are 1 each to both these sides. Now it is time to even the odds. AKOP already being bogged down. Osil, he's got that opener right now. As for now, D plus Kia, they've got the numbers advantage. It is indeed a 2-on-4 situation. AKOP still out of commission. Aru not having the healthiest of HPs, as even Viscott falls. It's going to be Chips who finds that opener, and D plus Kia, they are going to be pressing that trigger. Aru, the final member surviving. D plus Kia, they now mean business.
Wow, patience paying off here. D plus Kia just continuing on with the pressure right now as Shapes tries to fight this as well, but True Rippers also looking to try and grab up some points themselves as they try to push in. The zone is in the middle of nowhere, and D plus Kia has got them completely locked down. Meanwhile, OG, they go down to True Rippers, but the bigger problem is where will True Rippers push out? DRX has got the city locked down, and D plus Kia is right in front of them.
True Rippers is sandwiched, I see. They have nowhere left to go. DRX and D plus Kia have them dead to rights, and look at what's happening. 2 players fall, the other 2 panic, move in front, out into the open. DRX, they have the line of fire. Keo put under pressure. In the meanwhile, D plus Kia in the backlines will try to clean up as well. But they already kicked things off against DRX. They found the opening knock. It's just the question of who gets the chicken dinner. Is it going to be DRX or DK?
Seems like it could be a Korean show this time around.
Yeah, pretty much.
And pretty much the Indian teams really fell to their trap, especially with giving so much control. And DK and both DRX had been extremely patient, as a result of which now they are getting rewarded. The circle, DRX, they've got such a nice position to play around, stay around those splits. True Rippers could be caught in between, and that's where Hyunbin strikes. Harsh down on his knees, and now True Rippers also in a world of trouble, I see.
Yeah, D plus Kia now They found a little bit of opener. They're trying to reposition their way through Rippers, getting shot in. DRX pretty much stuck out in open, but D+, yeah, look at this. Chips, he's able to find it off angle as he continues to try and pressure DRX. And as of yet, they haven't been able to get the knock yet, but for now, this final two teams pretty much has somewhat of a zone control. And the circle shifts once more. He's going to be in the middle of nowhere. But D+ KL seems to have a little bit more space inside the zone. But the problem remains, is this going to be out in open here? They've got a 2-2 split coming from D+ KL. They're pretty much trying to cut off any entry point for DRX.
I mean, they have circle under their control. They are just trying to make sure that DRX are going to be squeezed out of their discomfort. And look at that. Even though the split is there from DRX, they're struggling to find play space inside of this play zone. And Chips, he's moved on to the flank. A stun at the ready in his hands. Osal is there for the cover as well. And they are just trying to play this pressure game to perfection. D+ Kia, they are still not giving up on the chicken.
Fights on two fronts. 2-2 splits exercised by both the teams. And now DRX, Hyunbin, he's been amazing so far. DRX, they've got a lot of finishes. And now D+ Kia playing around the splits. I feel like 4 teams are alive with 2 players individually each. But Osal, he's got the push coming in on him. Has to be the tip of the spear. He's got his shotgun ready. Still holding on. This is discipline at the highest order.
Yeah, 2 teams playing on 2 different fronts here. It is a 2v2 down outside the zone and a 2v2 inside the zone. But the question here is, D+ Kia, they're setting up for the ocean battle. And Osal and Chips cannot afford to be knocked here. As DRX finally goes in for the push. They find the opener. Hyunbin finds Osal. 4v3 instant trades from afar. Nobu was able to get a trade onto his Hyunbin. Great support fire, but Chips, he needs to win his 1 versus 1, but he cannot do so. XQZ shuts him down.
All of a sudden, the tables have been flipped on its head. D+ Kia now stand at a massive disadvantage. Nolbu and Fabian from the distance. They're trying their level best to build pressure, but we all know when it is a 3 versus 2 situation, you have no cover to work with. It is extremely difficult to clutch out the fight. Utility of the utmost importance, and D+ Kia, these 2 individuals have a lot of smokes available to make this play, but it's going to be the spray from Nolbu. The key fragger for D+ Kia, still finding the openers. He's found a knock. QXZ trying to see, or trying his level best to make sure he can cut off this support. He can cut off the last 2 members from gaining any more map control than they already have.
The MVP of the INKR 23 right now back into his senses. Might have started slow, but surely has found his footing. But DRX, they're also forced not to be trifled with. Would not give up at anything at all to have that numbers advantage. QXC, Seche, still around that container. Manages to toss those bullets, but look at Nobu. He's found a FAMAS, and that is a game changer of a weapon at this point.
Yeah, but at the same time as well, Nobu, he understands that that loot crate is some sort of cover and it's helped him a little bit more. But for XQZ, he's got a little bit of a surprise here. So easy with a very, very interesting machine gun ready to try and shred the way through. But it is going to be very, very tough. He cannot afford to be taken out. But as of yet, in terms of long range wise, D+ Gas, they could still punish that. But in terms of suppressive fire, so easy. He's got it hands down. But they're playing this slave 2 versus 3. And even DRX, the only reason why they're not playing this aggressive is just because it is just so much open fields. And now QXZ, he gets spotted out by Fabian, but he does not have enough ammunition.
Yeah, and DRX as well, no movement space available. The shift of the circle actually favors the players of D+ Kia. Look, it's so easy. He's running out into the open, provides a little bit of suppressing fire. Nolbu caught off guard, moves slightly towards the right to try and avoid the 2 knocks come through. Down to a 1v1 we go. Fabian spotted out, and it's a lot of damage dished out by QXC, but Fabian still left standing. Doesn't matter. There is the cleanup. DRX, they know how to shut down D+ Kia, and they close out the match with an impressive chicken dinner with 12 finishes on the board.
That really got close. Quite intense towards the very end. DRX having the man advantage, and suddenly D+ Kia. We saw that fight, I think, being prolonged. That was the longest fight in this tournament so far.
Pretty much.
Towards the end. That's what happens when you've got 2 Korean teams in the final circles. They outplay each other. not in terms of just gun skills, but also in terms of the time that they take.
Yeah, it was a lot of mind games, a lot of very strategic movements that they have been playing in that final zone here as well to take each other down. Eventually, obviously, it came down to a situation where D Plus Gear, they had no choice to make the move just because Fabian did not have enough animation to actually drag out this fight. But still, a win is still a win for the Korean teams here. We thought it's going to be a complete Indian domination, but Game 4, with a very, very interesting circle like this, leaving the two Korean teams to stand out, it just shows you that experience play a huge factor when you are being thrown a curveball like this.
Very true, and especially you can clearly see it from the perspective of DRX, because toward the end, as you mentioned, DRX, they had the upper hand, but they were outside the edge of the circle. Fabian did not have ammunition, and I think they realized that when he wasn't taking those shots, even though he got into the range where he could comfortably spray them down, he wanted to get closer. He wanted to be in the range of utility where he would secure the knocks with those nades. They found it, but a little too late, and towards the end, Fabian was just too exposed to cover for Nolbu getting knocked out over there.
And when you look at the grand scheme of things of how all of this really happened, it was DRX dropping down, heading towards Primos, holding those good spots. But it was D plus Kia who actually let all the other teams flood in. They were pretty much dandy around the edges. And once all these teams kept fighting each other, they got wiped out. And D plus Kia suddenly realized, now this is our cue. But, you know, commends where credit is due. You also need to talk about K9. I mean, I loved how Slug and Ninja Boy together single-handedly manhandled two teams at the same time.
Yeah, and the fight for that mountaintop onto his Primos was just phenomenal here. The thing that really, really made things extremely difficult was actually MTR that came in for Shop Life, because nobody, and I mean, well, somebody just did it, but usually nobody travels from the ocean, comes in for shoreline and picks them off from that angle this early in the circle. So it did not make sense. But because of the insanity play from MTR, every single team on the hill got completely shut down.
I mean, it was an open position. You were taking a massive risk, and a lot of punishment was dished out by the opponents. But again, this was a wrangle. Now it is time where we start queuing the map that is loved by almost all these athletes that are sitting on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 games done and dusted. Last 2 matches remain for the day. Coming up next is going to be Miramar. But before that, a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, gentlemen. You're all watching the BMIC 25 as after 3 games of Indian dominations, the Koreans have bounced back. DRX and D plus Kia. That was a very hard-fought battle, but Now it is time for Miramar. But anyways, we've got Necro joining us on the desk. Any other takeaway you had from the previous game?
To be honest, look, watching that entire previous game, we all know the Circle played the biggest mind game, and the only reason why DRX and D+ were able to win that game is because they had a stronghold from the start, especially DRX. We all knew somewhere down line this is supposed to be DRX's game. They also had the most amount of men alive in the final few moments, and they took it. But here's my main concern. Now, since these guys have finally found that groove, it might just be bad news for the other teams.
I think in terms of just curveball shifts, in terms of unexpected circles here, obviously the Korean team does have a lot more experience here. And you cannot deny that they were dominating a game here. I would say QXZZZ, he was the MVP for the match. He was able to find a lot of openers in that final angles, especially when they were the team that had the first dips onto his pre-mods. They chose their spots really, really well. They played a sounder approach here, and they realized that, oh, the moment Circle was about to shift out of the pre-mods, all they needed to do is try and go for a lot of poking onto the teams on top of the hilltop and just completely shut them down. So that was a very, very nice play coming from them. But joining them into the top 5 as well, we have to also talk about D+ Kia, because they've realized one thing in 3 games in total. A majority of teams in this lobby has been prioritizing the center control, and they've made a little bit of switch up, which was playing edge to edge, and that actually gave them so much opportunities to find finishes and find openings to push through.
Absolutely, and once those point standings come up, we can finally say that DRX, D+ Kia, they might have taken their time to settle down, but it seems like they're now feeling at ease, especially DRX, 22 points accumulated, D+ Kia, even True Rippers really tried to find a footing, but Necro, they were kind of caught in a very sandwich situation.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're looking at the point standing in general, even Mysterious 4 and Nebula Esports now finally a bit of that full stop in the momentum they had. The overall standings popping up on the screen, and DRX, oh my, on the second spot already with 43 points, not too far away from the first. Still, the South Koreans are in race big time.
Yeah, when we talk about who will dominate this game here, at the start of the day, I would not expect Indian teams to be dominated this hard, but after one performance like this from DRX, well, here in day one, sorry guys, it's not over until it's truly over. No one is dominating anything yet here. It's still anything up for grabs as of yet.
Now it is time for Miramar. And we have been witnessing a slightly regional rivalry that has been going on. In fact, an international rivalry, if I might have to correct myself. OG and D+ Kia.
Yeah.
It was the third time they had an encounter, and this time again it was D+ Kia getting the better out of OG.
I would say in terms of head-to-head fights right now, OG has won 2. And now D+ Kia has bounced back with 2. So it's 2-2 right now in terms of head-to-head fights right now.
It was so funny. The moment they were done with the fight, it was Seoul just third-partying them instantly.
Right.
And the moment I saw that, I was like, oh my god, Seoul, they needed this sort of a performance. They finally do use that to bounce back, and that's going to help them so much in the future, right? Now, overall conversation should also shift around the Japanese teams, and in my opinion, Reject. This is one of the best teams the region has to offer, and still all the way in the bottom too. Guys, what's going on with them?
Safety cushion, man. I'm going to Globals anyways. Just take it easy.
Yeah, that's always there, right? Because even you can see that from Orangutan also, because this is not ideally how they tend to play.
Yep.
And, you know, they have been trying to settle their personal scores and whatever the case may be. Now, let's talk about Miramar. So, Erangel, if you have to break it down, it was still dominated by the Indians. Yeah. But now in the 2 games of Miramar, IC, do you think this is where Korean supremacy can come in, or a little bit of that, you know, Japanese zing to it?
I think the international teams will have a little bit of a step up, just because this is going to be a long-range macro gameplay here. And so far, aggression doesn't really pay off that much in compared to Miramar, just because of the fact that the moment you get too aggressive and get caught out open or get stalled back because of all this rocky terrains, you are going to get completely shut down. So when it comes to patience, the Koreans and Japanese teams are a little bit more patient, whereas very apparent here in day number 1, Indian teams extremely, extremely aggressive.
So when it comes to defensive and tactical standpoint, and when it comes to strategy as well, the Koreans are much better. Let's be honest.
They're more patient, I would say.
They've got a lot of experience in the past as well. They've faced off against so many teams, so they know how to adapt on the fly. That's the most important skill they've developed. And now if you move on towards Miramar, that's really going to allow these teams to play a little bit on the back end. They can enjoy the game so slowly and steadily, and if they do have that enough time to play it defensively well, then I do believe these teams can do extremely good.
Now, this is where the real question really comes in, right? Who plays according to who? Do the Indians now adapt according to the Koreans and the Japanese because knowing that they have been quite patient, or do the Indians dictate gameplays on their own terms?
I think right now you have to go for a full mental reset on how the games has been going on the past few games. Just because now it's a completely different new map. The first biggest problem you have to list down in terms of standard operating procedure. What is step 1? What is step 2? What is step 3? Right now, step 1. Are we going to have any kind of drop clash right now? Nobody knows yet, officially, because this is the first official Miramar map.
In my opinion, you should make them adapt to you. So Indian team should be the one to dictate the pace. The only reason why we're able to stand a chance is because the ruthless aggression that we're showcasing.
But now we've seen two young gentlemen who've really been firing on all cylinders. I think Hyunbin, I think he's still been a veteran into the scene, has been playing for quite some time, but legit, finally making his mark. 13 finishes to 11. I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, and Seoul today itself has been just actually, I would say legit, and Naku has been playing absolutely out of their minds just today itself here. Even though they're not really in the top 8 as of yet in terms of position, legit and Naku has been very consistent in all the games despite not having the greatest performance.
And we all know, especially with Joker on your side, day 2 are always going to be really good, right? We've seen in one of the officials too, Joker was the man to pull off the rabbit out of his hat and really save the day for the boys. So I do believe Seoul is one of those teams that will showcase the consistency over the upcoming days as well. It's not even a question. But you asked a big question. Should the Indian teams adapt to the international teams, or should the Indian teams play their own game? I think we should play our own game. I think it's better for the other teams to adapt to us than us adapting to them. As I mentioned, they've got more experience. They will easily dominate you if you start adapting to them.
Absolutely. I think that was the case so far in the first 3 games where we saw Indian teams actually getting a chicken dinner. But heading on, this is something that even I brought up during the commentary where, all these teams really failed for a bit because so many Indian teams went for that mad rush whilst the likes of D plus Kia and all were just hunkered around those edges. They were letting all of them fight. So that is one of those traps laid down by the Koreans that was quite smart, and the Indians fell for it. But again, heading on, this is where we also need to start talking about Mysterious 4. Let's be honest, gentlemen, we did not expect them to play so well. They did. But now we're starting to see again them being a little vulnerable, them being a little exposed. Now, Necro, this is where, what mentality should they be approaching Miramar?
Look, after the first 2 games, Mysterious 4, the performance has dropped down big time, right? For Mysterious 4, I believe they should just play their natural gameplay. In the past, when you saw them in the showdown, Mysterious 4 is probably one of the most consistent teams from our region. I think they should just play the same way.
No, actually, I kind of disagree.
For the average points.
I actually disagree from this year, just because of the fact that, yes, Mysterious 4 is playing to their game plan here, but from Game 4 onwards, you can see adaptations in terms of playstyles has been changed, coming from DRX, coming from D plus KR, coming from Japanese teams as well. You can see even MTR, very apparent. They are going for off angles, aggressions right from the get-go. First, at the start of the game, everyone was playing very passive, very chill, and then am I seeing this right? We have cosplayers at the venue. Wow.
Yeah, finally. We've got some for ourselves set going on, and of course, the players unknown himself. Now, Mysterious 4. Now, this is again which got me really concerned because a couple of moments ago, Mysterious 4 had those hells in their control, and they just gave it away to another team, and that is where things went really wild, where Rejectors took it over, but K9 seems like they're completely locked in. Slug and Ninja Boy, they've shown up. Necro, you've been following K9. You've been a big admirer of K9. Now tell me, what do they need to do in Miramar?
Look, man, K9 eSports, consistency is not really up their alley. We all know. For K9, all it takes is that one massive game, and you will instantly see them in the top 3, directly bouncing back. So I'm not really concerned for K9 eSports. But I want you to ask us a prediction.
All right, prediction. Go ahead.
I'm going to go with Reject. I think they're extremely good on the map of Miramar, and now this is finally the time where Reject will bounce back.
I actually think Seoul will bounce back this game. Just because in terms of track record in BGMI history, Seoul always gets the most amount of finishes in a single game, and that's going to be Miramar. So I really think Seoul is going to be the team to watch out for this game.
Now, this is some really interesting predictions you got it because, you were talking about stats. Even the stats said that Reject are one of the most successful teams, especially in Rondo. That did not happen. That was a Japanese lobby. In an international lobby, I think they were exposed. But then again, IQ Seoul, by the pure metrics of things, I think they have been quite solid in Miramar.
I guess the only reason why Reject wasn't able to do that great on the map of Rondo is because the sheer unpredictability that our teams really brought in the game. The amount of aggression that we saw in Rondo, teams just taking random fights, and I'm pretty sure Reject was caught off guard. And that's why I'm saying the only way Indians can stand a chance to actually grab that crowd is by being unpredictable. And that means go extremely aggressive.
Yeah, but at the same time as well, you can see in the moments as well, DRX's backstaff is just extremely excited that, hey, we have done something here. Because think about it, right? When we talk about strategy, it's not just about gameplay. It's not just about map rotations. It's not just about mental warfare and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things you have to take into consideration. You have to talk about the overall race. Right now, what do you need to do in day 1? What do you need to do in day 2? And day 3, it's all different steps. Day 1 pretty much laying a foundation of points in the leaderboard. Day 2 is about comebacks. Day 3 is about crossing the finish line. And I would say for day 1, DRX, they did not do well in the first few games. And with this chicken dinner, it gives them a fighting chance to say like, hey, I need the #1 spot. Because think about it, DRX, even though they are the predicted teams in the global contenders, is one of the only few international teams that does not have a slot yet. Reject has a slot. T plus K has a slot.
Yes.
OG has a slot.
Yeah.
Indeed.
DRX, well, no slot. They need it from here.
So they're desperate, pretty much.
Yeah,
That's what he's trying to say.
And again, you know, we've done those permutation combinations. We tried to do those maths. Eventually, things change. But DRX, they're all on their own right now.
Yeah.
They will have to work for it, regardless if even D plus Kia wins it. But it's not going to be regionally transferred.
Correct.
That's been the case so far for now. But make the road, right? I mean, for MTR, they have been so amazing, especially, you know, considering how they kind of executed that waterways rotation, something that we have really never seen in the Indian lobby, but in this international lobby, they made it work. So here's a quick interview for MTR.
リグナイト山系です。チームメンバーが水、納言、大輝、長所短所は水がフィジカル、銃を撃つのがうまい、エイムがいい。で、納言、彼もエイムがいい。大輝もエイムがいい。みんなエイムがいい。僕たちはエイムが売りです。エイムがいいのが売りです。インドが有利かどうか、はい、インドはお互い初めてその日本ジャパンはインドと戦うのがあんまりないから、私たちはお互いのことをあんまり分かってない。研究動画は見ているだろうけど、あんまりお互いをよく知らないから、そのアクシデントいっぱい分からなかったことは試合中起きると思いますけど、それでもそこを乗り切って勝てるようなチームが本当に優勝すると思います。インド側の試合は何度かその直前にあったインドの大会をそのチームごとで見てはいるんですけど、まだそんなに深くはまだ見てなくて、そうですね、期待はインドのチームが8チームもいるから、インドの動きがメインになると思うんですよ、大会の進み方自体が。でもそれがまだ流れにどれだけ早く乗れるかなっていうのが今のところ一番気になってますね。インド来てご飯とかみんな出迎えてくれてすごい楽しくて、今のところ嬉しいことばっかりなんですけど、そのご飯が辛いスパイシーで、ちょっと僕あんまり辛いのが得意じゃないんで、ちょっと食べ物があんまり口に合わないものもあるんですけど、でも美味しいものもいっぱいあるんで、すごい快適です。今のところ毎日楽しいです。プレッシャーはそうですね、今までこんなに大きい会場でやったことがないんで、プレッシャーは正直あるんですけど、そのプレッシャーよりも楽しみ、ワクワクの方が今は大きいですね。早くやりたいっていう気持ちがいっぱいです。全部私たちはファイトをするつもりではあるんですけど、そうですね、狙われるってことですか？狙われる、戦うしかないですね。みんなあったかい、その日本人に対して優しい、すごい今まで ようこそインドへとかいい旅をって言われてきたんで、インドの皆さんはすごい優しい人が多いのかなって思ってますね、今のとこ。トップ3、難しいと思うけど、やっぱり世界1位取った DK は絶対にトップ3には入ってくるかなって思ってて、それ以外で強いところっていうと、やっぱり韓国はみんな強くて、DRX だとかノンシムレッドフォース、ジェチョンファランクスとかも強いし、インドは僕の知ってるところだとオランウータンだったり K9 だったりがやっぱ上位トップ3には入ってくる実力持ってるのかなって思います。じゃあ私たちリグナイトが BMIC 優勝して GC に行ってみせるんで、本当に応援お願いします。
This thing for it. Well, JPX. Now, this is again one of those teams that started off really well. But eventually, IC and Necro, what happened to them? I mean, they were the beacon of consistency.
Yeah.
Was it just one slight hiccup?
Well, you know, sometimes the beacons are broken, and that's what's happened to that consistency beacon. But maybe JPX, once again, as we all mentioned, they're not too far back in the overall standings. All it takes is one decent game, maybe 10 points out of that one game, and JPX will once again be around that top 5.
I think the goal here is very simple, right? Just get enough points and then go back tonight and then fix things for tomorrow. And in this case, with this reset coming from Miramar, it does give them a little bit of opportunity here to try and stand things out here. Maybe, you know, Erangel people are kind of adapting, people know what to do already. But when it comes to Miramar, it's a complete reset because nobody knows who's going to be dropping in this scenario right now between these 16 teams.
Of course, after there was a slight delay, I'm pretty sure maybe there could be those reset in the momentums really coming into play. But Miramar brings in a lot of challenges, new hopes and dreams being built up as we are ready to take over, get into the desert. And gentlemen, take it away.
As the Miramar boots up on the screen, we forgot to talk about the potential drop clashes that will happen. MTR versus Nebula and Seoul versus JPX towards Picado. These two drop clashes will be the one to dictate the pace, especially for Nebula. They cannot afford to get eliminated off the rip. They're extremely in a good spot in the overall standings. And if they get eliminated with 0 points, that's going to affect them quite a lot.
Well, for all things considered here, will that happen is going to be the question as well. A lot of pundits, a lot of analysts, a lot of predictions onto its potential drop clashes has been made. But it all comes down to the teams to decide whether or not will they switch things up. Because as of yet, now this is going to be the first official Miramar map here in BMIC 2025. And I'm curious to see if are there any drop clashes. Because one of the biggest surprises here was Erangel. No major drop clashes at all.
True that. God's Reign for them, for the Paraiso, it's going to be completely empty. Usually God's Reign, they like to head on towards Impala, but since T+K is already there, God's Reign, they came up with a drop location on the fly. And what am I watching? Nebula avoiding that clash with the players of MTR towards El Pozo, and Nebula dropping down south underneath Lothlionis. It's not something that you see that often, but Nebula, man, what happened to them?
Hey, you know, this is the BMIC for a reason, right? This is global championship slot on the line, so don't mess around. Sometimes you got to play it safe. You got to back out. Just back out. But all things considered here, we do see a lot of tensions between a lot of teams. However, you know, in terms of high spirits, you know which team has the highest spirit so far?
Which?
Reject.
Okay.
Because I was very surprised to see them still smiling after, you know, being on the last place after 4 games.
Well, I mean, look, you had a point, right? They've already got the cushion. They know they've qualified to the Global Championship anyways. They've got the league stage or the group stage slot. So it's all good in the hood for them. Even if they do not perform in this event, they're anyways going to move on to the designated spot where they belong. K9 eSports. For them, though, still the qualifications on the line, and anything can happen as of now.
Yep. And speaking of anything can happen right now, Nebula, where are they going to go here? They've switched things up a little bit here. Seems like they are heading their direction onto Valdemar, so most likely they are going to be heading towards there. Kratos and RD still thinking if they want to head down towards Partona as well, because there is a lot of vehicles coming by, and there's going to be DRX driving past them as well. And Nebula Esports, they're actually hesitating in this fight. They do not have guns on them right now. Nebula Esports, they're trying to secure this vehicle before they get shot.
It's going to be too awkward.
I think they back off expecting that maybe DRX had guns on them, and they might get shot for trying to snatch that vehicle, but it seems like the moment they back off, okay, you know what, it's safe to secure this for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, both the teams were pretty much caught naked, but it's all good. JP, we had a conversation about them saying that the consistency is now fizzling away, but still not doing too bad in the overall standings. They're on the 6th spot with 26 points. As I mentioned, one game with 10 points, and that's going to propel them in an extremely safer spot. True Rippers in the top 4 as well. And once again, speaking of True Rippers, they've been so low-key, just slipping under that radar.
Yeah, just very, very passive gameplays here. But True Rippers, they have had their moments as well. We saw a lot of third parties coming from them. It's, some successful, some not so great. But based on this circle here, I think we are not going to be seeing that insane shifts here like the previous map, so we might potentially expect an urban warfare down towards Los Leonas. So that's going to be something that I'm looking forward to see how the international teams tackle this as well. Because if we talk about this entire year in 2025, we had a lot of urban warfares here in BGMI tournaments, and it has been a quick struggle. Majority of the teams that are outside, especially for Los Leonas, the mountain terrain becomes a very, very hot spot for teams to try and shut down teams in case the circle comes out of the city. But if it goes to the city, well, it all comes down to the game of who is center control, a majority of times.
True. Looking at the center as of now, I mean, there's Reignite towards Los Leonas, D plus Kia as well, around Impala. And yeah, D plus Kia just refueling the vehicles. The previous game was definitely a bit of that head start that D plus Kia needed, and that's going to kick them in a decent spot. Yeah. Still, it's not the D plus Kia standards. We know they can do much better, but it's all about that patient wait.
Again, you know, when we talk about stakes as well, D plus Kia, there's nothing but number 1. Like, there's anything else, it's only fighting for prize money, just because they already guaranteed themselves in the group stages. But number 1 pretty much skips the entire route here for the Global Championship. So I would say that is going to be the objective. And based on their current standing, they still have a fighting chance.
But I guess it's also about making a mark, right?
For sure.
People Skia, they want to repeat history.
For the crown, man. Like, how often do you get a crown as a trophy?
Yeah, true. You've got a point. And at the same time, they would want to upgrade their slot towards the Global Championship, right?
You
they
know
would want to head on towards Gauntlet.
You know what's a really interesting one?
What?
If there's only one crown, who wears the crown out of the 4? 4 players in the team.
The trophy.
Yeah, the trophy, but who wears the crown? There's a crown, right? The IGL or the MVP?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe the coach, I guess.
Why the coach?
Or maybe the organization
the
owner.
other masterminds, huh?
Maybe the organization owner.
Okay, fair enough.
That actually makes more sense. Matt Kings. A few foes around the block for them. Mysterious 4 in the front as well, but there's also a team in the back. So Matt Kings, they need to be a little bit cautious. Mysterious 4 shots taken against him. Nothing critical happening yet, but Bunny, the man, almost would have been knocked out. Pro is there still in the back lines as well, and Pro might just have the flank angle. He can punish Bunny if he wants, but no, Pro himself, he gets taken down extremely low. Pro backs away to safety. Bunny still want to patch himself up.
Yeah, Mysterious 4 now stuck in a little bit out open here. Bunny needs to find a way to try and make their way into the circle. His teammates have pretty much left him out alone as well. He's got a couple of shots pretty much shooting their way through, but a very, very slow game here from all the teams. Nobody is taking unnecessary risks, and that's the thing about Miramar, right? It's all about slow pace, it's all about pacing, it's all about macro gameplay. But the biggest question from this stage 1 is that we will see major movements after stage 2 onwards, because as of yet, nobody knows if this is going to be a Los Leonas circle or is this going to be a Minas circle as well, because Minas Mountain is very, very good in terms of holding zone control. But what I do know now is Mysterious 4 Esports finally picks up a Mini 14. Very, very rare we do see Indian teams pick up Mini 14s to try and take advantage of this ammunition, to try and conserve those resources.
So once again, this game's off to a safer start, which means it's a good thing for the international teams. Now they get a chance to adapt, and now they get a chance to pretty much
Well, that's the thing about this, the Miramar itself, right? Like, aggression doesn't really pay off that much just because you are going to be giving opportunities for teams to out-rotate you, because this is a game of rotations. And, of course, when we talk about Stage 2, when the zone comes in, it will pretty much dictate here. Are we going to be playing CQC, or are we going to be playing long-range fights? And so far, when it comes to urban warfare, shotguns and UMPs, or in this case, SMGs, has one of the biggest advantages, just because of the fact that you need the UMPs for suppressive fire to push corners, and you need the one-shot potential when you get close up and personal. So having those DMRs when Los Leones is in play, well, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. So I was very surprised that Mysterious 4 actually went for it. But again, you can't really blame them. There is a chance that the circle may shift up north as well, outside Los Leones.
Nongshim, the boys with 0 finishes so far. And as I mentioned, right, this game is off to a slow start. The exact dream, the exact thing the international teams wanted. And now they can execute their own gameplay, their own game style. Strategies can be brought on the board. And this is really going to help them propel themselves in a decent spot.
Yeah, based on this zone right now, I'm curious to see how Mysterious 4 is going to play this year. They've got the DMR, they've got the, I would say, the resource management part done, but now all they need to do is just hold on and shove everybody out and open here, because this zone is going to be very, very tough to play here, especially on towards the outskirts of Labadida. It's all open field, no man's land all the way through, not enough cover. So we are going to be seeing a lot of teams going to be coming in from the where God's Reign is, all those mountain terrains, or maybe even towards Mina's side, which again doesn't provide too much cover, but it does buy them a little bit of time. And I think MTR is going to be making that off-road rotation in terms of position here. Like, when we talk about good positions here, MTR has been actively finding positions that nobody usually go for, and always brings in the element of surprise, which, again, was a big element of surprise in the previous game for Erangel itself.
But as of now, Reignite, they found themselves in a bit of that pickly spot. And speaking of being in a pickle, K9 Esports is Omega. The man gets caught off guard all by himself. And the remaining 3 players, they're on the run. K9 off to a struggling start once again. Dropping down on a man, that's going to hurt them so much in the future. Especially now for K9 Esports, working with a 3-man squad without the IGL. It's pretty much like a headless chicken. Let's see what the game structure is going to look like. K9, they cannot really aggressively take the fights anymore.
Yeah, OG going to be coming from the southeast corner as well. They're going to decide to try and push in towards Impala. And, well, they are having a little bit of run in, but Impala is pretty much occupied by D plus Gear as of yet. And again, we've speculated as well, OG and D plus Gear has very, very similar drop spots and rotation playstyle. And that's the reason why we've seen multiple instances where they, just today in day number 1, OG has had run-ins with D plus Gear. And so far, OG, they're about to make their way in towards Impala. And they will potentially run in towards D plus Gear if they continue their journey. But it seems like the circle has something else installed. They have to push out in the open, and DRX, they are going to be playing from the south side. They are going to try and pick off the stragglers on the edges before pushing through. And interesting enough, DRX, they're not taking high ground advantage at all. They just don't want to give away information on how they want to sneak through. They want to try and sneak past a team engaged in battle to try and gatekeep them for a later fight, or maybe even a third party Centro.
Nebula, 0 finishes on the block so far. A team that's supposed to have the aggressive start, this time, yeah, off to a passive one. I really want to see, is this a shift in the playstyle from Nebula Esports, or it's just the lobby being passive? The next zone's going to be shifting up north in La Benedita. It will be in contention. JP, they found themselves in a decent spot as well, but that split from JP, I want to see how that's going to work out.
Yeah, this circle shift is going to dictate a lot of fates of a lot of teams here. Mysterious Fall, they are going to be safe from these rotations for sure, just because they have a decent amount of cover. But the teams that has to fight for their dear lives here is going to be Nongshin Red Frost because of the mountain terrain, and also Seoul coming from the north side of Crater. Whereas everybody else in the southeast corner, they only have 2 options: fight or find space or hold. Because if you survive this circle, more than half of the lobby is going to be taken out just because there is very, very limited space. The circle looks good, but there's just not enough cover here. JPX has got a very, very nice split too as well, and even then they cannot do too much because of the fact that in between them, it is just no man's land.
Oh no, one from OG actually gets picked off. OG, not the ideal start they wanted to have. Reject moving in tandem. Today's day, it's not been forgiving for Reject, but this Miramar, it needs to be theirs. Now looking to pull off a flawless rotation, but they're also taking too many shots upon themselves. And Omega whiffing the opportunity of actually finding that first knock against Reject. And Reject, they're going to go for a full stop. They stop right next to Mysterious 4, and now Reject's going to be a living threat. How do they deal with them?
Yeah, with the gunshots coming in as well, Reject have realized that they have to respect this compound. Mysterious 4 has made a lot of noise, but the question here is, do they go for the tandem push? Yes, they do. Reject's going to be cornering from one corner. The rest of Mysterious 4, they're pretty much spread out. And Hero, he's going to try and back out from this fight. He has the nades, but he's caught as well. Then he needs backup. He's trying to buy time for his team. Somebody's got to save him as well. But he goes for the first spray. He gets the first knock, and here comes Snowjaw trying to provide the backup. And Reject, they get completely shut down. As the suppressed fires come through, Mysterious 4 slowly being picked apart, and bit by bit they all go down, and just like that, Reject actually cleans them out in a very, very awkward engagement here, but a great push from Reject.
That was some clinical stuff from Reject. Realizing that you cannot play passive anymore, you have to go for the fight if you want to get your hands on a good spot. And Reject thwarting the players of Mysterious 4 off the lobby, and now they conquer a solid ground. Nebula, they make the push against the players of CAG, but this time, Nebula, they walk into an unknown territory, and they would need to pay the price for that. Phoenix knocked out Kratos in the backlines, and even his teammate, not really there up close. So Adi and his boy, they need to play it passive. CAG doing a perfect job in defending this spot down, really keeping the players of Team Nebula on the bay.
Yeah, this unexpected camp coming from CAG Osaka definitely caught Nebula off guard as well. Who in their right minds in this circle would still be in those corners? And guess what? It's paid off for CAG Osaka. However, the circle is going to force them out in the open here. And right now, just now where we saw how Mysterious 4 handles compounds, was pretty much overtaken by Reject. And now they are in prime position. However, Reject, based on the compounds itself, yes, they do have a solid compound, but it does not provide a lot of angles onto the north side. So teams like Seoul, teams like MTRs, teams like Nongshin Red Force will have a fantastic time with shutting down teams that is going to be coming from the south side. So all they need to do is just hold out. Whereas for the teams outside, well, they're in a lot of trouble because they've got two problems. Push to the west side, you are going to be fighting Nongshin. Push for the east side, you're going to be caught out and open. Push from the south, you are going to be pinned from JPX in two different angles. This 2-2 split from JPX is causing a lot of problems for teams coming from the south entry point.
True. And as of now for Reignite,
Phalanx is just playing really well in this hold as well. Like, the only way JPX actually loses this fight is very simple. Somebody goes for a 4-man push into its either all the west side or the east side of JPX.
Yeah.
But if people respect them and expects that, hey, this is a 4-man squad in those compounds, then they're in trouble.
For a moment, I thought Mysterious 4 can actually stand a chance against Reject. The way the man was able to find the opening frag with that Scar Rail, but then later on, Reject was just constantly finding those positive traits. And Mysterious 4 just losing that grip slowly and steadily in the fight. And speaking of losing the grip, God's Reign as of now losing the grip in the fight against the players of Mad Kings. And already they've found those 2 knocks. It feels like God's Reign, they're falling apart. Proper game plan not executed, and Mad Kings really punishing God's Reign. Already 3 players are down and just 1 more man to go, but God's Reign, they spoiled the day. Pro was knocked out, caught off guard, and already the confirmation follows up, and Mad Kings, they're going to put that final nail in the coffin too.
Big clutch here coming from Mad Kings here. But at the same time, the jury is not over as well. They're outside the zone. They have ample amount of time, but they are getting shot from afar. D+ has checked things out. And while D+ is looking, OG's inside the zone. We've got JPX also inside the zone trying to make things a little bit difficult. But DRX, look at this. They're coming from the south side. It's no man's lands all the way through. They are right at the edge of the zone. They do find a small little dip. They are going to go for the 2-2 split to try to take some sort of space. And JPX has not taken a shot yet. And interesting enough, JPX is doing a fantastic job making sure that everybody thinks that this is a 4-man squad in those 2-2 splits. And because of that, everybody is caught outside and open.
Yeah.
And nobody has made the mad dash yet. Great mind games being played from Jejong Phalanx right now.
CAG, when they're around the nearby turf. Look at the boys just backing away slowly and steadily. One of the players is spotted by Nebula, but since Adi's the only person standing, he can't even do anything about him. And now look at DRX making that push. JP, you talked about someone making a proper 4-man push against those split that JP's got. And this is where JP might just be caught off guard too. Already the first man is down and confirmed. Put in such an awkward spot. What can you do? All the 4 players right in your building, but even they're not making the pounce yet. And the fact that the man's using a solid off now, that's something I've never seen in the past. But even JP, they've reignited. They've reunited. There's a chance JP as well can bounce back in the fight. Utilities being traded off. And as of now, DRX, they've got the man advantage.
Yeah, DRX, they had no choice. They made the right play. JPX has to double down trying to save them. They've got them to gobble up, but they could not find any openings. But as of yet, those vehicles are going to be very, very crucial for the next phase of zone. As you can see, DRX, they're trying their best to try and secure it while hoping to find a mistake from JPX. But despite all this commitment in terms of rotation from JPX, nobody is taking a look into this compound. And DRX is hoping that there's a third party that can ease the defense of JPX to make them survive this. As time is slowly dripping down, 2 seconds left, stage 5 is going to move. And you will expect the team potentially looking to third party as well. And on east side, D+ is just waiting for the major fight as well. It's all about a patience waiting game. But True Rippers in front, K9 going head to head, and True Rippers, they lose a major amount of players, and only Hydro remains now for True Rippers.
Utilities finding value in K9 eSports. They might just be in an awkward spot, and that's what's happening. Another nade tossed out from True Rippers, and that's going to find the positive trade once again. One last man remains from K9, but he's got too much on the back. A lot of pressure that he's dealing with. But he also needs to go for the revival on his fallen comrade. And look at this bounce! Hydro shuts down the K9! And just like that, he's also got a lot of loot to loot.
Well done to True Rippers. Meanwhile, on the minimap here, the ones in yellow, D+ Kia, they were stalking True Rippers and also K9. They were stalking DRX and JPX. And the moment a major fight breaks down, you know what was the call? We are going to drive past the direction of the noise so that they are not focused enough. Because of that, True Rippers now gave space for D+ Kia to actually sneak inside the zone. And DRX and JPX is still stuck outside the zone. And on the top right of the corner, so you can even see Chips from D+ Kia is making sure that they are not exiting this compound. This is going to be a free points for D+ Kia as they try to gobble up all these points.
Indeed. For JP, though, still want to deal with the players of DRX, and they can't do it yet. No one's able to find that first initial opener. And even the main concern is none of them have utilities. No nades available. They burn through all of them all the way in the back. And now Crazy, the man's position's compromised, and already the man of close and personal shift is going to shut down Crazy. JP down to just a 2-man squad will make that one now. Sporta the only person standing in Sporta. The clutch machine this man is. The genes they need to activate. Is the machine really working this time, though? DRX, all the 4, still standing in Sporta, is all by himself from JP. He wants to at least get away with a few points before getting eliminated, but the Blue's on the move, and he's got no other option than to move out in the open.
Yep. Great win there coming from DRX, but that pretty much concludes the southeast corner in terms of engagement. D+ Kia able to make it zone. DRX also kind of able to make it the zone, but they lost a couple of casualties. But big games coming from DRX. Meanwhile, let's talk about teams from the west side. Nongshin Red Force, they were the team that had biggest control in the mountain terrain in the west side, but not a lot of context so far. And as of yet, the circle is going to shift out in the open, where Reject is able to get some sort of center control now in the open, while Soul and MTR are still hugging around the outskirts of the crater itself. And interesting enough, I was expecting Soul to play alongside the mountain terrain crater. They actually went inside the crater to seek shelter, which I'm very surprised by this. I was expecting Soul to just go head-to-head for MTR and wrap things up.
Yeah, that's the question, right? Is Soul really confident, though? This can also dictate the confidence issues that Soul's facing, maybe. Trying to opt out for safer play. But I personally think that's just going to give MTR an edge over the players of Seoul, but let's see. It can really be the either way. D+Kia now straight up just banking it towards that centric part, and they've already found the openers against DRX. D+Kia once again putting this banner in the works for DRX. They were looking so good. They were looking so smooth in this game, but DRX once again, they had to meet against D+Kia, but Reject from top, even they started right down death and destruction. This is the Reject we all wanted to see, and now finally, it's time for Reject to bounce back up from the overall standings.
Yeah, this is a great reset here for the international teams here, especially competing in the home ground of India. This is just a massive performance coming in from all the international teams in terms of macro rotations and decision makings. Very, very patient as well. And Reject currently in the center of it all. DRX was able to come crashing in, but unfortunately could not find an opening. And D+Kia was able to sneak up on them as well from the east side. Whereas for Nongshin Red Frost from the southwest corner, they have to clean up the loose stragglers of everybody else who's fought their way from the southwest corner. And CAG Osaka is going to be one of those teams. Reignite is going to be one of those teams as well. As Nongshin Red Force tries to pick off teams out in open, you can see Red Force Beanie try to go for the off angle, but did not expect Adi, who's still outside the zone, goes in for a surprise, takes him out. Unfortunately, no points for Nebula Esports. But with those noise coming in, the third parties from CAG Osaka is going to try and wrap them up.
And CAG, they've already lost a man. Man advantage as of now in the hands of NS and Nongshin. They can really make it hurt. And just like that, the floor's lava, and CAG has been eliminated from this game. Even for Nebula, just got eliminated with 1 point. That's got to sting. As I mentioned, for Nebula, if they mess up this game, their position in the overall standings will be compromised. And that's what's happening. DRX is currently on top. Nongshin, they once again eliminate the likes of CAG with these. But Reject is the only force that can stop DRX and D+.
Well done, Nongshin Red Force. Well done indeed. That was very, very decisive moments there to clean things out. Great hole coming from them. But let's talk about teams inside the zone here. D+K still at a stalemate from the east side. Just could not find the opener that DRX tried to crash onto the Reject. And could you really blame them? Look at the Mets, very, very low. Ammunition as well for Fabian, down towards his last 60 bullets. And they have to think about the bigger picture. They have to rotate past Reject. And right now the zone is still undecided. Is this going to shift towards east side or west side? And it seems like no choice now. D+K has to push through Reject. And it seems like Reject, they are going to think about backing out control. They want to try and get center control. But based on what I'm seeing, that is no man's land.
True that. Soul's utility is really creeping up close.
Wow.
But from the top, it's Goblin taking those shots against FDR. They gave up that position that they had over the players of Soul that kept them in the advantage. And now MTR's messed up big time. But still, look at that return. As Rex, he finds that return knock. But even there's a fight going on between DRX and Reject. That fight as well can be a game changer. Reignite now as well, looking to take that fight against Soul. There's so many fights happening at the same time at Seoul. They really need to start picking and choosing their fights.
Exactly. The biggest threat right now is going to be Seoul on top of those mountain terrains. But as soon as the circle engulfs them and force them out of those mountain terrains, every single team will find angles to push through just because the high ground can no longer have angles onto them. And Reignite, they're also waiting for Seoul to make a mistake. And all they need to do is just wait. But Reignite, they are expecting company, and that's going to be Nongshin Red Force that comes in pushing through. Suppressed Fire comes through, holds on, but he still got picked off by a team from afar. Nongshin Red Force loses 2, and Yamak also loses his life.
Yeah, but the man was trapped in the shack, and now Nongshin, they're here to get the revival. The rescue operation, it's in process. XEY sticking that revival. DRX as well, constantly hammering down the players of D+Kia. There's also Reject in that mix, but now Nongshin, they need to divert their attention to someone else. It's Reignite that's moved up in the close of fray. This nade, it's gonna be the one to seal the deal, as Nongshin Red Force has been eliminated by the hands of Reignite. That's some classic stuff, but MTR, the patience now starting to pay off, the passive gameplay. It's now time to turn it into the aggressive one.
Now making the road now, they have to clean things up. But at the same time, Seoul, they are in prime position to try and secure the chicken dinner. Every single team is stuck out on the east side, but Reignite is going to be the biggest problem right now. At the moment Seoul takes out Reignite, this is their game to win. But it's going to be a tough call, as Reignite now shifts their entire focus and making sure that Seoul does not clean them up. And Nicole still thinking whether or not should they actually force this fight here, as Goblin secured himself a machine gun to try and go for suppressed fires. Problems from the west side is going to be these two teams, and problems from the east side is going to be MTR versus Reject. So it's going to be a 2 versus 2 situation between two different teams. But the problem is, whoever takes the first shot is going to be third party from the other side as well.
Yeah, but I think the numbers advantage is also going to count. Seoul's got all the 4 players standing. MTR's got all the 4 players standing. I do believe Seoul's got the most chance to win this. They've got a lot of map control. While MTR, they're playing all grouped up. And I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Reject as well, if they want, they can really spread themselves out, but they just do not really want to take that risk.
Yeah.
Reignite from the sidelines can prove out to be an absolute nightmare. But now Reject, they're done playing it passive. They don't want to show a lot of patience anymore.
Yeah, they don't really have a choice as well. MTR, they're playing a little bit low ground. They're not actually looking on towards a Reject just because of the fact that this small little dip, as soon as they pick out on towards Reject, they are going to be shot from Seoul. So there's nothing really much MTR can do. And for Reject, they have no choice but to push towards MTR. And the moment they dodge MTR, MTR has perfect line of sight and free shots down towards the south. So Reject, they have to make the play here. Seems like the play is to push down towards south here to try and buy a little bit more time, but they're not exactly inside zone yet, as MTR will slowly try and set things up to try and shoot them. But Sarah is able to find a little bit of corner down to the southeast corner and reignite, and so is not make their shot yet.
The more the lobby gets lower, the more the international teams will perform. And as of now for Reject, out of Garden eliminated all the way back in the blue. He could not do anything. No chance for life this time, but Reignite! Oh, the man was in the open. Try to use the buggy as the cover, but that's not going to be enough. His body was too big. And Reject, just like that, within a blink of an eye, they wipe out Reignite. But look at Apollo. The man's not done yet. He continues his wrath as he sprays down one of the players from Seoul. But even MTR, they're going to be on the hit list. Apollo single-handedly dominating the final few moments. As even Sarah, he finds the second knock. MTR in a world of trouble.
Well done here coming from Reject. They've done their due diligence really, really well, but the zone is still forcing them out in the open. They have to choose their poison here. Fight against MTR or fight against Seoul. They may have found the opener, but Seoul have realized that, hey, Reject has cleaned up my team right here. I don't think they're right there, and then
Apollo was stuck in such an awkward spot, and now Sarah as well. The man's exposed. The Blues on the move. Sarah needs to keep on moving, but MTR, they overwhelmed the guy. And unfortunately for MTR, one of the players moves all the way out in the blue as he tried to run him over. And this is where Seoul, they will have the cake. Seoul destined to win this game, and it was a picture-perfect 1-2. We all doubted that one decision of Seoul actually giving away the high ground, but it all worked out in the end.
the crowd goes absolutely crazy as Seoul was able to snatch the chicken dinner from the international teams here. Odds were against them, but they were the ones to snatch it away. And again, this is a point, this is a match that Seoul needs to lay the foundation for the race.
Absolutely, I cannot deny that. When the world gave up their hopes, you did not. You came up with that wild guess that Aiko Seoul might walk away with a chicken dinner in Miramar, and that did happen. But again, you know, we cannot take anything away from the birthday boy himself. He also did talk about Reject bouncing back, and that also did happen. So we are actually fortune tellers, if you ask me. But now, you know, the final game, this is where you're finally seeing Necro and I see that Indian teams are slowly starting to gas out. Again, heroics plays from Aiko Seoul. But again, Koreans and Japanese, South Koreans and Japanese, they're playing really well.
Yeah, of course, stepping up big time, right? Even MTR, the fact that they were able to stay alive in the final few moments. And I guess one thing we all need to point out, Nebula changing their drop location. This is not what I saw coming. Nebula was supposed to take that drop clash against MTR because that's what they've been doing throughout the entirety of the practice matches. But this time they switched up that drop location.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can see Seoul, they're very happy with this performance, and even MTR as well started making a little bit bounce back. I talked about this as well. Map change means a little bit of a new reset here, and I feel like whoever did their prep work a little bit better is great. But this game, it wasn't really prep work. It was all about small, little, tiny informations on how they want to rotate these games. And Reject, D plus Gear, played really well in towards the east side. And even Nongshin Red Force played really well in this scenario when how they want to approach fights. But what's really surprising for me was that Seoul, they weren't playing very, very aggressive. They played very patiently, and what happened was, for them, to secure the chicken dinner was pretty much let your enemies take each other out, and then we just reap the rewards.
It was all about the audience also getting elated towards the very end. But yes, Aiku Soul, finally that resurgence from their side has been there. We did witness those little sparks here and there, but it was again them finding some footing in the game of Miramar. So much so far has happened because right now even Team Aiku Soul has bounced back. The competition is once again out for a toss. Anything could happen. We're going to talk a lot more. But gentlemen, after this short little break.
Hello everyone and welcome back to BMIC 2025 here, day number 1. And now one final game will decide the, I would say, the foundation of the race and for the points, or in this case, for the crown of the tournament itself here. My name is ICBaby12. Joining me is iSuperJohnny as Necro. We take you through the English commentary for today. And interesting enough, Seoul was able to make a little bit of bounce back despite a very, very poor four-game start at the start of the day. But with this chicken dinner, gives them a fighting chance for the top 2 spot here. And what do you guys think about this performance here? Johnny, what is your take in the map of Miramar?
See, I mean, I'm happy with the performance, I'm happy with the chicken dinner, but we've got to be fair to everyone.
Yes.
It is Seoul we are talking about. Are we happy with them winning the game with a grand total of just 15 points?
Yeah, of course. I mean, knowing the fact that Seoul's forte is about taking those fights and being aggressive, it's not exactly the Seoul standards game, right? But at least they have started things off in a decent note, so maybe you can't say in the upcoming game Seoul can just bring in the consistency with the elimination points too.
It's too early to celebrate, basically. You do not celebrate now. This could be the start, but if they end up doing well in the last Miramar of the day as well, hey, then it's a different story. You're going to hear us screaming.
True.
Well, fair enough here. But let us take a look at towards the MVP of that particular match on who was dictating of the lives on every single one in this team here. And once again, it is going to be QXZZZ from the side of DRX. And I'm not really surprised as well because DRX, they had made one of the biggest comebacks despite a very, very rough start at the start of the day itself. And now DRX should technically be at the #1 spot right now, overtaking Nebula after that game.
Hey, some things never change, right? South Korean team once again on top. And to be honest, something needs to be done at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
You've also got Reignite right there. To be honest, Reignite has been surprising for me personally. I did not really expect a lot coming in from Reignite, but man, oh man, today's day at Reignite has been extremely consistent, and they're looking pretty good in the overall standings too. And before the game even started, I mentioned Reject's going to do good, and there we go. The comeback is already initiated.
Yeah, you were waiting for their Miramar performances because either it's Rondo or Miramar for Reject, and considering the start of the day wasn't the best, they had to recover. But I agree with you, Reignite, I think kind of someone we did not expect to play the way they are playing right now. They had an unfortunate start to the day, but they've kind of managed to keep themselves in a fighting position.
Now, speaking of the fighting position right now, as of yet overall standings here, DRX has snuck in towards the top 1 spot, being the most consistent team thus far. As you can see, they have 35 finish points and also 20 position points alongside with Nebula. One of the biggest comebacks despite a very, very strong start from India itself. But let's talk about teams like Reignite. Let's talk about teams like Mysterious Fall. Reignite, making a small little bounce back, but Mr. 4 taking a huge tumble despite winning the first chicken dinner of the day.
So do you want to go first or should I go first?
You go first.
All right, so pace of play is very important. The faster the pace of play, the better chances for Nebula and Mysterious 4 to do well. If you play slow, the Korean teams are going to beat you down.
Yeah.
But heartbreaking seeing what's happening to K9 Esports today.
Well, as of yet here, I'm curious to see what Seoul thinks about their performances now because we're going to be jumping into interview with them right now.
देर आए दुरुस्त आए लेकिन इस चिकन डिनर के साथ टीम सोल छाए एंड 4 गेम्स का इंतजार करना पड़ा फिर जाकर 5th गेम में जाकर उनको चिकन डिनर मिला तो ये क्या हो गया था ये 4 गेम्स का इंतजार ऐसा इतना टाइम क्यों लग गया नकुल
लाइक स्टार्टिंग के मैचेस में 1-2 मैचेस में हमारी मिस्टेक्स हुई एच पे फाइट में कोऑर्डिनेशन में थोड़ी स्ट्रोक हुए बट वही था ये मैच हमने अच्छे से कैपिटलाइज किया एग्जीक्यूट अच्छे से किया तो चिकन आया
एंड टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऐसा सिचुएशन हो गया था कि 8 टीमें बची थी एंड इंडिया से सिर्फ टीम सोल बची हुई थी सो गॉब्लिन उस टाइम बहुत सारी कॉन्वर्जेशंस आपके बीच में चल रही होंगी कॉम्स में उसके बारे में बताइए कि क्या चल रहा होता है ऐसे क्रूशल मोमेंट्स में आपस में टीम में बातचीत क्या होती है
तो लाइक हम लोग को स्टार्टिंग में कुछ फिनिशेस मिले नहीं हम लोग डैमेज दिए जा रहे थे बट कोई फिनिश नहीं मिल रहा था या तो स्टील हो जा रहा था तो हम लोग थोड़ा डेस्परेट हो रहे थे कि फिनिशेस चाहिए और हमें नहीं पता था कि लाइक बाकी सारे इंटरनेशनल टीम्स बचे अब हम अपना नेचुरल खेले लास्ट में थोड़ी पिंग इशू हो गई थी वरना और ज़्यादा फिनिशेस मिलते हैं डेफिनेटली
एंड ऑफ कोर्स ये पहला दिन है 5वें गेम में जाकर आपका ये हाथ चिकन डिनर लगा है अब देखिए मैच और ये जो पूरा कंपटीशन है काफ़ी क्लोज चल रहा है व्हाट आर यू एक्सपेक्टिंग इस समय जापानीज एंड कोरियन टीम्स जो हैं किस तरह से वो कम बैक कर सकती हैं आपने कुछ पिन पॉइंट किया है आपके कोच ने आपको बताया कि ये वाली टीम से थोड़ा सा बच के रहना है ऐसा कुछ कॉन्वर्सेशंस होती हैं
देयर इज़ नो पर्टिकुलर टीम जो हमें कोई थ्रेट दे सकती है हम लोग को बस अपना बेस्ट देना है और मेरे पे और मेरे पूरे टीम पे भरोसा है मे बी मतलब वही है कि मेन गोल तो ट्रॉफी है तो डजेंट मैटर
एंड ऑफ कोर्स इस समय BMIC 2025 का पहला दिन चल रहा है एंड जब टीम सोल ने एंटर भी किया था अरीना में तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा सपोर्ट मिला था तो ऑब्वियसली द लव इज़ देयर जोकर तो आपकी तरफ से टीम सोल की तरफ से क्या कहना चाहेंगे टू ऑल द पीपल हु आर सपोर्टिंग इंडिया एंड टीम सोल राइट नाउ
लाइक जितने भी लोग सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं मतलब जैसे हमारा वॉकिंग स्टार्ट हुआ तो भाई देख के ऐसे गुज़बम्स आ गई कि मतलब इतना सपोर्ट ज़्यादा मिल रहा है तो वही उसके लिए ऑलवेज ग्रेटफुल यार
एंड ऑफ कोर्स एक और गेम बचता है एंड इट्स गोइंग टू बी द सेम मैप सो इस समय क्या ये टीम वापस हिस्ट्री रिपीट करती है जस्ट लाइक गेम 5 ये सब आपको अच्छी तरह समझाएंगे हमारे कास्टर्स सो लेट्स हेड बैक टू द कास्टिंग डेस्क
Well. A very, very interesting approach here of the interview coming from Seoul in particular. They're not exactly out of it yet, but with small little victories, you know, they're still in the running.
They kind of managed to keep themselves in a fighting position. In the overall leaderboard as well, a decent spot.
Yeah.
I think if they can convert this last game and convert it in a way which me and Necro kind of know that they can pull off, it is going to be phenomenal seeing Seoul become a part of top 2 at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're talking about Seoul taking fights left, right, center, and that's the
Yeah.
conversion we want to see in the end. Imagine a chicken dinner with 19 or 20 points on the block, and now that's going to propel Seoul directly on top.
Yeah.
But I guess the main concern over here has to be that DRX has climbed up all the way on the first spot, and we need to talk about it a little bit more because Indian teams are now slowly and steadily fading away. Fixes mentioned this. Indian teams are gassing out.
I want to add one thing to that because as you mentioned, Indian teams are messing up when they're slowing those fights down, allowing DRX time to breathe and adapt inside of the game. But again, we also have to talk about the little bit of a slowdown that has impacted Nebula eSports. At the end of game number 3, they were doing about 14 points per game.
Yeah.
Before that last match came to an end, their average dropped to about 12, and now it's under 12 points per game. Nebula eSports, they've done a lot of heavy lifting at the start of the day. They need to keep the ball rolling.
I think the two biggest momentum change was that it was a very, very big test, right? Like every single circle pretty much decides what kind of gameplay you have to play. Are you playing for long range? Are you playing for CQC? Are you playing for urban warfare? That hard shift on towards the map of Erangel is where things got a little bit different for every single team. You can see a very, very clear difference in terms of experience on handling curveballing shifts, I would say. And you can see the Indian teams kind of fumble a little bit. And then when the reset came through for Miramar, where things have to be a little bit more tactical, things has not been looking good for the Indian teams. And now it's India's time to try and adapt on how to switch things up, because the Koreans and also the Japanese, the South Koreans and also the Japanese teams has adapted took them like game 4 to slowly improve, but even that DRX was able to rise up to the challenge, I would
But I
say.
guess, Johnny, some of the best teams from our regions are not able to perform, right? We're speaking of OG, K9 Esports, God's Reign. Everyone is fumbling up, and honestly, if this keeps on happening, we might not see the performance once again from them in the future stages.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
for some reason, when it comes to K9 Esports, I always have to have faith. It takes one game where K9 Esports gets 19 or 20 finishes, and you will instantly see them propelling themselves back in the top 8.
Exactly. This is a team that works like an engine. If
Yeah.
it starts off on a good note, they're going to make sure that you have the momentum. But if there's a little bit of a misfire at the very start, it can all blow up in our face, which is what is happening right now. But considering it's day one almost coming to an end, at least they can set themselves up for tomorrow, and tomorrow if things go right, K9 can bounce back. But I also have a feeling right now they are overcomplicating things a little bit, overthinking those team fights. K9 is a team that's known to just charge in and just wipe out teams or pick off individual players and capitalize on those points. They got to go back to their roots.
Now, as of yet here, I'm curious to see what DRX, I would say the masterminds on what DRX's plan for today is going to be having to say, because we're going to be jumping into an interview with DRX coach Salty. Take it away.
Finally, I could catch hold of the coach of the team who has been performing brilliantly. I'm talking about Big Fafa from DRX. First of all, welcome, and how has India been treating you so far?
첫 번째는 인도에 환영합니다. 인도는 어떻습니까?
너무 좋고 일단 이 e스포츠 분위기가 너무 좀 터프하고 좀 매력적인 것 같습니다. 이 팬들이 너무 좀 열광이 너무 뛰어난 것 같습니다.
He thinks India is great. Also, the esports scene in India is really great. It has surprised him, and he thinks that there will be much competition going forward.
I love that. DRX has been performing brilliantly, especially when it comes to these lobbies. They are top 2 currently. But do you think there is any Indian team who can actually threat going ahead?
DRX가 아주 잘하고 있는데 하지만 어떤 인도 팀이가 그 경쟁적으로 도전할 수 있는 것 같습니까?
오늘은 데이 1이기 때문에 사실 모든 팀이 기회가 있는 것 같고요. 그리고 제가 봤을 때는 모든 팀들이 다 특색이 있기 때문에 어떤 특정한 팀을 지금 뽑긴 힘들 것 같아요. 모든 팀이 다 기회가 있다. 네, 그리고 다 실력이 다 뭐 한쪽으로 치우쳐져 있는 것 같진 않아요.
He says that it's only the first day today, so we can't predict the nature of all the teams. Every team has been performing well, and the first day isn't sufficient to decide the nature of all the teams and who is going to perform well and compete well.
I love that mentality once again. Last question. There was a big fight between D plus Kia and DRX for that chicken dinner. You won against your regional rivals. Does that improve your morale going ahead to day 2 and day 3?
네, 최근에는 그 T 플러스 기아랑 그 지역적인 라이벌이잖아요. 그 경기에서 아주 경쟁적인 경기에서 이겨낸 것을 앞으로는 경기에서 영향을 미칠 수 있습니까?
네, 당연히 미친다고 보고 또 DK가 뭐 상당히 교전이 강한 전 세계에서 가장 강한 팀 중에 하나이기 때문에 그것으로 인해서 저희가 좀 많이 용기를 얻은 것 같아요.
As we all know that D plus Kia is the best team all around the world, so of course it affects us, and this has got us a lot of motivation going forward into this competition.
I love that. DRX has been performing brilliantly, and ladies and gentlemen, that was Big Fafa from Team DRX. It has been fantastic, but over to you, casters.
Well. Expect the unexpected. It's only day 1. It's hard to predict here, but DRX, so far, their performance has been really decent so far.
True.
They are now in Tumble 1, and one more game remains for DRX, though. So do you think they are going to be able to continue this momentum, or have they figured out the secret sauce of this lobby?
Hey man, I think if it's anyone who is who will be able to keep this going, it has to be DRX or D plus Kia. They've done phenomenal with how they've recovered, and of course with how the teams are doing. Mr. Sharma is happy, he's running around the back right now. But anyways, I mean, it's been a phenomenal day for everyone. The recovery that we have seen from the teams from South Korea. Of course, the outlying contenders from Japan as well. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, as we always like to say, if you are in Delhi, do drop by and say hi. There's a lot of...
We saw...
Little bit of chance.
To be honest, I like the fact that Reignite is not really someone that's backing away from fights, first of all. And if you look at every single game Reignite's played, they're constantly getting a good balance of elimination points and even a few placement points. Even if they're not able to survive in the final few moments, you will see Reignite constantly getting those elimination points, and that's really keeping them consistent. All they need to do is just play the same way, and I don't think Reignite is breaking any sort of sweat. They're just playing their natural gameplay, and it's working
Exactly.
out.
I agree with what Nectar said 100%. I mean, this team, they're not doing anything flashy. They're just sticking to the fundamentals of how they know how to play the maps. How they... But again, you have to step up after a certain time, and I think for a team like Reignite, that will be tomorrow. Today's goal, they have succeeded 100%. They have kept a decent pace, a decent number of points every single match, and I think this is going to be the confidence booster for tomorrow once they actually have time to analyze the performances of all the other teams they're playing against.
And I also want to bring up one thing, right? I'm sorry to cut you off. I also want to bring up one thing. That fight between DRX and JP. We saw that split coming through from JP. It was a 2-2 split, and DRX was so brilliant in realizing that there's only two players in that compound. They instantly rammed their vehicles, got the first knock. Now DRX knew they had the man advantage. And I guess JP, they need to figure out a way. They're playing it passive. They want to play for the consistency, but that's not how you play, man.
Also, by the way, there's an absolute wild card in the mix right now that hasn't really shown up, but we are seeing them make some interesting plays as well. MTR.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a team that likes to go for that split approach all the time. Kind of like the old K9 eSports where they used to always be in a 1v3. MTR loves their 2v2 splits inside of the map. The problem is, today we haven't really seen that from them, and I was just talking to Mr. Sharma. He was a little bit concerned about what is going with them. Are they coming up with something new?
I think MTR is just by far one of the most unique teams thus far in day one itself, just because of every single rotation they have made has been very, very unorthodox, and they have gotten away with some of it here. So I'm curious to see how this unique rotation that coming from them is going to be able to scale in towards the map of Miramar here, because this is going to be the second Miramar for today, and I'm excited to see how the teams has adapted here for the final game of day one here in the BMIC. Is about to begin right here, right now.
One last game of the day. And as the plane's going to hit the skies once again, even with that, the question marks still do linger in our minds. Will we see a major bounce back from the latter half of the board, or will we see the first half once again dominate the same way? Indian team slowly and steadily gassing out, but Seoul, even they're on the rise, and we cannot ignore that. You've got the players on the screen, and everyone is locked in and loaded, but you still start to wonder, what exactly is going wrong with K9 Esports and God's Reign, including OG?
I mean, as you mentioned, there's a lot going on in the heads of people, a lot of expectation, a lot of anticipation, leading to a lot of agitation amongst the entire crowd, man. This day has been the most unpredictable day we could have thought of. I mean, starting off with Mysterious 4 getting a chicken and a Nebula eSports taking the first, and out of nowhere, DRX and Seoul making that leap in the previous Miramar. But this time again, we are looking to kick things off with a very interesting switch of play from DRX, who have decided that they're going to drop towards the western edge of the map.
Ruins and Trailer Park. It's a bit of a switch-up coming through from DRX, but Nebula now drop clashing MTR. The previous game, Nebula dropped all the way towards the southern side of Los Leones, but now this time, Nebula, they really do want to take that fight against MTR. Nebula is done playing it passive. They're done bringing in the experiments. Now Nebula wants that blood, and I love it. This is the Nebula eSports that is supposed to thrive in chaos, and if they do indulge themselves amongst the chaos, they will thrive.
But Necro, looking at the circle, we have seen Seoul do well when the circle in Miramar favors them, and this one is going to be towards the northern side. Seoul dropping towards the east of Craterfield Hills, and of course there's a little bit of a 1-3 split. Legit is the only player up north, the other three towards the south, western edge of the circle. Just a little bit off where the players of Nongjim Red Force are. But as you were talking about MTR, Nebula is used to aggression in El Pozo. Because let's not forget, they're used to going up against Som and the boys.
I'm a little bit weirded out by Seoul's drop. They usually like to head on towards La Cabrera. That's what they did in the previous game as well. But this time, switching things up on the fly towards Power Grid. Yeah, maybe they want to get their hands on the vehicles, or maybe they were expecting visitors. I do not know. But as of now, for Reignite, they're in the close proximity of JP. And JP is actually just going to make a run away from this compound, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
JP is struggling in the overall standings, and Reignite, they're doing pretty good.
Look at God's Reign, though. They've completely given up any sort of action for Impala. They are, in fact, just... Right now, they're going to get suffocated for loot as well. Just away from the players of True Rippers, but on our screens, Reignite, full control of Los Leones. The flight path did enable them to have a decent start to this game as well. The only problem is they're going to have to push up north for that circle, and this is one of those teams that might just end up getting gate-kept by the bunch that are there on the southern edge.
K9 Esports is the only team among the bottom 5 that's Indian.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just noticed that. Which means K9 Esports, now it's time to bounce back. But as of now for MTR, seems like avoiding that drop clutch against Nebula Esports is probably the best possible decision they came up with. We saw them duke it out in the practice matches as well, and Nebula was constantly winning those drop fights. And MTR knows it's their forte. Nebula likes to take the early game fights, and they will come out on top because the gun power is supreme.
I mean, for sure. But let's see how things turn out, because we look at the leaderboard and it's very interesting. One game can propel a team like K9 Esports into the top 3, the top 4 if they have a massive chicken dinner, and that is what they're hoping for right now. The only two teams that have kind of kept themselves away from the rest of the competition are DRX and Nebula, fighting for the top 2. But MTR, look at them. The distance closes in. They find themselves up against 2 players from the set of Seoul. And they're surrounding them as well.
Yeah, MTR. I don't think they've got any intentions of actually going for the fight. MTR just wants to pull off a rotation, but maybe Seoul can be the one to stop them in tracks. They can definitely play the spoiler, but no, it's dead Seoul. They're going to let go of them. And I guess somewhere down line, when the opponents really do not want to mess around with you, why would you want to mess around with them? Maybe just move your own merry way. Unless they're in your way, then that's a different thing. But as of now, MTR, they just want to move their own way. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
I agree with you, Necro. But I mean, Seoul should have kind of backed off because they saw 4 vehicles over there. The new 4 players from the side of MTR are going to be the squad to deal with. And Seoul is playing a split. Let's not forget, their firepower is divided right now. It can be a big deterrent to what they want at the end of this game. And I think they also realize that the regroup call has been made, as Goblin and Knuckle are looking to join Joker on top of this hill.
Interesting. I'm not exactly sure what MTR's game plan is. Even they're split apart. It's a 2-2 split MTR's working with. And if Seoul directly makes a 4-man pounce on top of that compound, the 2 isolated players from MTR will stand no chance. Longshim taking those shots against K9 Esports. Nothing critical happening yet. Just able to chip away a lot of damage. And the man still barely survives by the skin of his teeth.
Well, at least he's still alive and kicking. He can heal up as well. So lucky for Slug to just not get knocked out there in the open. It would have been so unfortunate, but K9 Esports, they've completely pushed for the center. We just saw Nongjim Red Force build up pressure on their heads. They're not going to be the only ones. Mysterious 4 Mad Kings are moving for the same spot as K9. But here we have on our screens DRX. An off-drop start on the map of Miramar. But they're making sure, as we said, Necro, as we were talking about it on the desk, they like to play slow. They like to take a breath every single time they have to make a call. And in this game, they have so much space towards the northern side to work with that this can easily be a DRX chicken dinner again.
Mysterious 4. Since the boys have got a little bit cold, I'm pretty sure they would want to go back to the ways they like to play, even in a normal lobby. I mean, they're up close and personal against Mad King, so I'm not sure if that's going to be shaking up their decision-making. Nebula all the way towards El Pozo still, and I guess Nebula just trying to search for the foes. They think maybe MTR still around the block. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Nebula, but it's not the idealistic Nebula that we've seen in the past. Nebula is supposed to be a quick rotator, but they're still taking their sweet little time.
Maybe all of that momentum from the first half of the day slipping out of their hands has them on their toes. They're on the fence about what needs to be done. But I think, let's see how the rest of the game go. I want to see when Nebula are going to head towards how they're planning to breach the next stage of the circle. OG as well, still sticking around Chumacera, where you have D plus Kia just exiting Impala right now. But on our screens, we have JP and Mysterious 4. JP, are they about to run into a trap? Omega and Snowjord, they try to make an escape. Are they going to succeed in this?
JP. Yeah, the shots were taken, but once again, Mysterious 4 too slippery. Just slip away from their hands. And look at Bunny. He's lining up that aim. Waiting for the man to actually stand still, and then Bunny's going to go for the shots. Now these shots are taken, but once again, it's all good in the hood. JP's safe. JP's placed out simple. As you brought up a while ago, Meta Ninja, literally copy and paste that.
Yeah, pretty much.
JP, I would say you would see a little bit more of that intention from them as they do sort of take some of the fights. But Meta Ninja was completely passive.
Yeah, I mean, JP, at least at the start of the day, were very consistent. From then, they have fallen off just because of the same thing. So a lot of people aren't going to be aware about Meta Ninja. Meta Ninja is a team from our region that has done quite well for themselves in the last year, and we had a lot of hope from them this year as well. Yeah. But because of their passive nature, because they could not get finishes consistently, they were surviving. They would not have enough points to qualify for a lot of finales of the officials that have taken place. And JP, again, positional play, phenomenal. Team fights, sometimes they just walk away in an easy situation where they will come out on top.
True. And as of now for JP, in my opinion, they just need to amp up the aggression.
A little bit, yeah.
Or maybe just be a little bit more proactive. Simple. I mean, as of now, they've got this max center. As of now, they are rotating towards a better spot. But once again, for JP, if they really do want to have that good spot, they need to go for the fight. But if they do try to avoid that fight, then it's not going to work out that well. Shots taken against JP, and just look at the awkward spot JP is being forced into. Mad Kings just ramming their vehicles, and I cannot believe there's no casualty.
Oh man, but Mad Kings, they could have walked into a trap over there. Well, at least they do manage to pull the players of JP into the line of fire of their teammates. So Mad Kings do manage to deter the aggression from JP, and K9 eSports from top of that hill can also take a few pot shots on this unsuspecting team. Oh, but pressure from the flank. Shadow OG is going to be forced back into cover. But look at that finish feed. God's Reign taking on Mysterious 4, and they're coming out on top. Omega is still standing, but for how long is the question?
God's Reign finally on the aggressive front. They realize if they want to get their hands on a good spot, they need to go for that fight against Mysterious 4. And God's Reign's actually coming out on top as well. Utilities finding those proper trades, but Omega, he still finds that full stop. But it's not going to be enough as God's Reign. They've got more men alive.
Yeah, and they find that Lost Man completely unguarded. He was in the middle of that first hit. Animation gets finished off, but Reignite getting ignited at the hands of OG as Aru is going to find Yamak. That's going to be the first casualty from the side of Reignite. Second man now gone, spotted out. One more spray committed, but not enough damage for the knock.
OG just constantly spraying away.
Yeah.
The next zone shift's going to be important. And what if we see a bit of that piece of Oasis? That's going to be fun.
Oh, for sure.
I might just be too ahead of myself. I don't think that's going to happen.
If that happens, Necro, then I think DRX will take away this game. Look at the amount of map control they will have towards the north.
DRX is so good at making those quick rotations.
And Nebula will also do well if there's an Oasis shift.
If you remember, they dropped all the way towards Ruins.
Yeah.
Which is on the left side of the map, extremely towards the corner. And now look at DRX. In this max center, they've got a commanding spot.
And every single time someone will try to charge towards DRX, they're going to be forced into an open terrain. And you see that cluster that was there, that will become the death circle that everyone will be forced to conquer or get out of. And it's not going to be easy, but Reignite from one fight running into the next one. They're going to try and avoid JP for as long as possible.
DRX, boys next to each other. RC as well in the close fray. CAG on the southern side and K9 eSports as well playing around that same block. NS right next to Soul. Even Rejects now finding themselves in a good spot. Reject knows they finally cracked the code. They know what they need to do to find themselves in a good spot on the map. D plus Kia getting a bit of those loose stragglers. And these crappy elimination points can definitely be the confidence booster and the mood setter. OG, today's performance, it's been a little bit lackluster, but you can't even blame the boys of OG since they've already qualified for the Global Championship and they've got the best possible seat.
I mean, yeah, OG has the luxury of taking things lightly, but I think this is a lesson that OG needs to learn from DRX, from D plus Kia, that you still have to make sure that you showcase to everyone else as to why you are considered one of the best.
So, once again, to put it out there for the audience, D plus Kia, they've already qualified for the Global Championship,
Yes.
but to the group stage. OG, they've qualified for the Gauntlet, which is a better slot towards the group stage. But as of now, OG, this pounce on K9 Esports, it could have been devastating. And there we go. OG, they already kickstart things against K9. Slug gets knocked out, but Beast, the man's not done yet. It's time to make a monstrous play, Beast. He was able to thread the needle, find that one quick frag, and that knockout is going to be more than enough to suppress the intentions of OG. OG really do want to aggress on and shut down the reminiscence of K9 Esports. But K9, they just want to go for a quick recovery. This nade from Slug is going to find a return knock. What a beastly nade that was, Beast. Slug is back up on his feet, and OG, now once again it seems like they are in a big wall of trouble. Athanki, the only person standing inside of the fight, and K9 Esports, they're the one to dictate the fight. K9 started things off with a major disadvantage inside of the fight, but now OG, they are in a problematic shoes as Athanki is the only person standing. But there's two men of K9 Esports still alive, and just like that, within the blink of an eye, I think he gets eliminated too.
Well, somehow K9 Esports do manage to come out on top on that one. That fight had me a little bit concerned, Necro. I was at the edge of my seat wondering how K9 Esports were going to bounce back, but Slug with that opener nade did manage to break the momentum for OG. And then towards the end, not a lot that could be done by the last man playing the rooftop, but True Rippers now up against D plus Kia. Nade from Jelly keeps them at bay, but he needs to back off. The shots come through. Jelly loses a big chunk of his HP. Still alive, though, and still kicking. Still ready to be in the action.
D plus Kia. 5 nades. And that's True Rippers right there. This nade was close, but still overshoots. It's going to be tough to find precision out in the open like that, especially when you do not even know exactly where the man's position. But once again, back towards that conversation, right? As I mentioned, OG's got the slot of Gauntlet, which is the best possible slot. And then D plus Kia, they've got the slot for group stage in the Global Championship. But I'm going to hold on to that thought once again, since we do see D plus Kia. Oh no, trades happening back and forth, and True Rippers maybe bouncing back.
And it's Nolbu again who hits the floor. This is the one man from the side of D plus Kia that needs to go all out for his team to take that leap towards the podium. They do bring him back. The revive comes through. D plus Kia, a very quick reset from them.
True Rippers, they're trying to farm the off angles. Just thread the needle. Just find that one knock. That's going to put you in the advantageous spot. And for D plus Kia, they're completely on a defensive stance. True Rippers, you can see the boys just farming the off angles, wanting to catch the players off guard. But D plus Kia is so aware. This is what you call the surrounding awareness of an experienced team. D plus Kia knows all the possible angles that can be formed against him, and they're just pre-prepared for those. But once again, back towards the conversation that I was trying to bring on the board. As I mentioned, OG's got the best possible spot towards the Global Championship, which is the Gauntlet. And then D plus Kia, they've got the slot towards group stage. If D plus Kia wants to get their hands on the Gauntlet, they would need to place themselves on the first spot in this tournament. And then only they can have the slot towards Gauntlet. The same thing happens, and the same thing is copied and pasted towards Reject.
Yeah. And right now, both these teams are just like struggling, at least on day one itself. But Reignite, we spoke about them. We spoke about DRX. We spoke about Nongjim Red Force as well. These are the teams that are going to try and contend directly that spot in the Gauntlet, and they are going to try their level best to win. But CAG Osaka, they are making that bounce on to Nongjim Red Force at that nade from Tizzy. It drops one. The second knock comes at the hand of Benny. Nongjim Red Force kick things off in style.
Already those 2 knocks, that's going to give them so much advantage. And this man Tizzy, look at the confidence. It's like confidence is just coursing through his veins. He knows he's so confident that he can easily eliminate the boys. Utilities misplaced from the side of CAG, and you cannot really afford that, especially when you know that you were on the verge of being eliminated from this game. Instead, Mattoon just backing away. Respects the opponents, and Mattoon does not want anything to do with the opponents. K9 eSports, even they're making the move from the back lines. And for K9 eSports, this has got to be a bounce-back game.
I mean, but they need to be careful as to where they position themselves, because if they go in an off position in the next few moments, NSR will have the upper hand. Well, CAG, they are losing bodies. Noto knocked out. Matun there on the low ground, but he gets finished off. And CAG Osaka eliminated from this game. 3 finishes claimed by Nongjim Red Force and 1 going to the players of K9. But as I was saying, Necro off position and K9 eSports getting punished for a small little mistake.
Oh, that's got to sting. That's really got to sting. K9 eSports, a big separation. And the boys not really having that surrounding awareness, lacking that. That's costing K9 eSports this game. Ninja Boy's got no other option than to move out in the open because the blue was shaping out a lot of damage, and Ninja Boy will be eliminated soon. The amount of shots that are being taken against Ninja Boy, it's not going to stand a single chance. Entirety of Nongjim Red Force were like a firing squad taking shots against him.
Yeah, a little bit of a helping hand by MTR as well. But I have to say, I mean, they could have charged for the hill, taken a fight or gone for a third party, attempted a third party against the players of Nongjim Red Force. Staying on that low ground was just signing your own death sentence, but JP, last man left alive, gets burnt alive. All thanks to the Molotov from Nolbu from D plus Kia.
D plus Kia, though, since they've still got all the 4 players around the block, you cannot count them out yet. We all thought for K9 eSports this could have been the game that might just reignite the hopes. But that's not the case. K9 eliminated with only 6 finishes. D plus Kia and True Rippers right on the opposite fray. These 2 teams have been locking horns constantly back and forth. And True Rippers, it feels like they've got the best out of D plus Kia. One of the man's knocked out. This opener is going to give them a lot of confidence boost.
But right now, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of the game, because all the teams that have been eliminated are the same teams that were outside of the top 8, top 10 before this match. Only Mysterious 4, one of the names that was eliminated early, trying to build up momentum from this game. And in what is happening, the end result becomes that the fight for the top is just going to get more and more intense, because this is the match where DRX and Nebula can settle their differences. Either Nebula takes over, sets themselves up for tomorrow, or DRX just gets a massive lead to play safe tomorrow.
D plus Kia as of now, though, they might just turn the tides easily. True Rippers, they need to be careful. The more they hold back, the more they play passive. D plus Kia, they will start gaining confidence. And look at the utilities finding those proper connections. True Rippers, they've already messed up. They were too passive in the fight, and D plus Kia knew exactly what they needed to do. Utilities finding the mark, and now Hirsch, the only person standing. Actually, it's Hydro. True Rippers, they've been truly ripped.
I mean, this is the one thing that we have talked about even during the showdown. Utility usage, you gotta be cautious of that as well. And D plus Kia showcasing exactly why. Hydro, what are you doing, my guy? Just running into the faces of the players of D plus Kia, draws him into the line of fire of DRX. He's still alive, but Necro, that is a very risky move, man.
I want to point out something funny.
Yeah.
Shadow just naded himself. It's so funny. As of now, though, God's Reign, Neo, oh no, back's too exposed. And Neo, the man, gets caught. Mad Kings, Apollo, he's going to be the person to actually get that. But Reignite, yeah, too exposed, and MTR. This time they're not going to spare them. Already the main man's down. Confirmation's going to follow up as well for Reignite, so that's going to be 1 freebie. But God's Reign being nearby, Reignite Miz. Since it's the only person standing, I don't really see a lot of possible ways Miz can actually fight back.
But Necro, both the teams that started from that northwestern quadrant are doing quite well, but you're talking about Miz not being able to fight that, huh?
To be honest, he was able to find the knock, but instantly the knock got stolen by MTR.
Hey man, and at least he found a knock. At least he's still alive and kicking, right?
The man was not able to reap the benefits of his own hard work.
Just like real life.
Yeah, I guess. That's how it is. Reignite. At least they've got 2 finishes, and this might just be one of those games for Reignite where they drop loose. And if that does happen for Reignite, the positioning in the overall standings might just be hampered.
But I want to talk about the top again once. DRX, 3 finishes. Every single frag is just them pulling themselves further up ahead of Nebula eSports and Nebula eSports so far, they've just lost a man and not been involved in any action. Those finish points are going to matter a lot at the end of the day. Solo on the other side, just are they being gate kept right now by Reject and Nongjim Red Force?
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Looking at it, Nongjim. Amount of shots that are being taken against him. Oh no, MTR. How are you surviving and how does everyone whiff shots? MTR, oh my. fight. Apollo, if you clutch it out, you absolute mad lad. But no, eventually, he gets eliminated from the game. But even MTR, they get third-partied. Spoilers after spoilers, MTR. They seemed at such a controlling pace, but now even that gets stolen away from them.
I mean, we would have liked if Apollo got a few more points, but he only gets 1 for that fight. We're down to the top 8 of this game. 23 players still alive. And big opportunity for D plus Kia, big opportunity for Nongshim Red Force to bounce back. Both the teams holding on very strong to the momentum. 6 eliminations for D plus Kia, 7 for Nongshim Red Force, and both of them have all 4 players still intact. Decent map position as well. It has to be a chicken dinner for either one of these teams, Necro.
True. Nongshim Red Force, considering they've got 7 finishes, this is going to be interesting. The fact that Nongshim Red Force is actually bouncing back in the last game itself, Johnny, it might just say a lot of things.
I mean, before this match as well, we spoke about this on the desk. The difference between the third and the 15th position wasn't that much. It was like 16, 17 points.
Yeah.
So big opportunity for everyone to make that bounce. And it was this map of Miramar where you had to capitalize on that. It seems like Reject, Nongshim, D plus Kia, all of them are making this one count.
Yeah, but DRX is really having a concerning rise. It's making the other teams concerned. Nebula, at least they're still alive in the game, but this time Nebula, they've opted to play it passive. 0 finishes on the block so far. Nebula eSports really playing that survival game. Probably aiming for a chicken dinner. Nongshim in the front, God's Reign. Does Delta really want to play the spoiler? That's my question. And if he does play the spoiler, Nongshim's going to be the perfect team to play it against. Nongshim's feeling themselves, but Delta, he just messes up.
And goes down to the blue. Doesn't really give the satisfaction to the opponents as well, but Nongshim, one more thing I just noticed, Necro. They've been playing outside the play zone for a very long time. This team is just going after those finishes. They're cleaning house. They're picking up those loose stragglers, and that's how they're getting those points.
DK, now it's time for them to make that push. Nebula, are they confident to win this fight? Nebula's 4v4. We all know how good they are. And look at Osal. The first thing he does is molly that container. Make sure no one's really hiding inside of it. That's brilliant from D+. Even though there was no one inside of it, but still, the precautions that you take before going for the fight. Molotoving some of the most obvious and the common spots. And Nomi's right next to Nolbu. He's hiding in a corner. He's just waiting for someone from D+ to actually step in the line of fire. And the moment that happens, he will surprise him with a big blast to their face. Utilities being exchanged, and what a nade that was from Kairos! That's gonna open things up. The big man Nolbu down, and D+, now they're in quite a concerning spot. There's also Adi forming the off angle, but Fabian is there to hold him off.
Oh, and Adi needed to go for the spray, needed to go for a repeat or something. But Fabian, with that nade, is going to push him back yet again. And now the Molotov is just going to make sure that Adi stays at bay. This is brilliant. D plus Kia Necro. This is the micro of the team fight that needs to happen.
Oh my God,
they are covering
so
all their angles, and Adi just makes a big mistake. Although the trade comes through, all thanks to Nomi. D plus Kia, they might just beat that. Nebula right here, right now.
So brilliant. That's all he could say. D plus Kia. That's experience speaking right there.
Yeah.
Just reading Nebula eSports like a book in that fight, knowing exactly what sort of a move the boys are going to make. And that comes up with years of experience. But D plus Kia, slowly and steadily converting this fight into a complete one-side. As D+, they wipe out the remnants of Nebula eSports. It was an easy piece of cake, but they lost chips. And because of that, even Nolbu gets knocked.
Oh man, D plus Kia, there are 8 eliminations on the board. I'm hoping for a big game. They have found.
Nongshim, all they can do is just wait it out. But slowly and steadily, even Nongshim, they need to play it and fight for control. And look at that nade from Tizzy. Oh, he's able to find the second one as well. DRX, they're getting dismantled. Nongshim Red Forces Tizzy. This man is single-handedly shutting them down one after one. But does he have another nade? If he did, I'm pretty sure that nade would have been tossed out. But Tizzy, still waiting for that man from DRX to make some sort of a mistake. So easy, the man's back upon his feet, but Tizzy, He gives away the opportunity, and now DRX, they go for the reset once again.
Yeah, and if DRX resets, then it's going to be trouble in paradise for the players of Nongshim. But look at that, Soul still getting punished one after the other. Another knock secured. Knuckle, in fact, I believe has been finished off as well. And Reject, they're not giving up easy in that fight.
It's not looking good for any of these teams, but Nongshim is the only team that's currently dominating. 9 finishes already on the block in Nongshim. They're hungry for a few more. And since the Blues are out in the back as well, Nongshim, they need to be adaptive. Let's see what they can do. And what a nade that was! What was that? D+Kia eliminated with that one well-placed nade. And it was True Rippers who did it.
Yeah, then out to the last man, it was Hydro who lobbed that nade for those points, opening up the gate for anyone playing from that northern half. But Soul, they know where Paulo is. They're putting up more pressure. The Molotov misses its mark. And they have to be cautious as well, because for on the flank, there's a lot of chaos. DRX taking on the players of Nongshim. And Nongshim getting beaten down over there. Oh, nice nade. Gets the finish, gets the point.
RC. Oh, not a lot to gather from this game. Just one finish point and maybe a few placement points, but at least it's better than all the past performances they've had so far. Soul, 5 finishes once again on the block. Soul's been playing quite a calculated game.
Yeah.
Not really going too aggressive, relying on their tactical instincts. And it's been working out so far.
They did manage to sneak their way inside of the top 3 before this game, and after this, maybe we're going to see them in the top 2 as we are down to the final 3 teams of this game. DRX, they have the numbers to work with, but Soul, can they still pull off a clutch? It's Soul, DRX, and Nongshim for the end game.
Goblin, the man's getting a bit too overconfident. There's DRX on the tail. Goblin, be careful. Your back's too exposed. And slowly and steadily, even Goblin, his position's getting compromised. That was overconfidence of Goblin being punished, but honestly, he could not even do a lot in that situation. And there we go, DRX. This rise from DRX, it's impeccable. Outstanding performance. Solid games back-to-back. The consistency's top-notch. And now with this game, DRX, they run away with the lead.
Yeah.
A well-needed win here for DRX to run away with the lead. The foundation has been set here, ladies and gentlemen, for day 1 itself in the BMIC 2025. And DRX and currently the team to beat for that global championship slot right now at the tippity top.
Pretty much, man. I mean, and it has been an intense journey from their perspective as well, especially in this game. Necro dropping in Ruins. Ruins is a location so ignored in Miramar that sometimes when we show the flight path, we cut it off.
They started off low-key, but ended the game with a big ping. And that is the sort of DRX that we've all seen. If you guys remember my prediction is DRX, and this is one of the main reasons why I went with them. This team is always explosive, and the fact that they're able to adapt to this lobby so quick, that's even remarkable.
Also, by the way, they aren't the only ones we got to talk about in this game. A big bounce back coming from Nongshim, Red Force, and D+Kia. Both the teams performing phenomenally in the same match.
I guess it's not a good news for the Indians, right? South Korea once again starting to rise up from the overall standings.
See, you can see a very, very big difference in terms of momentum and mindset shifts here coming from the veterans of the Globals themselves here. We're talking about Nongshim Red Force, we're talking about DRX, we're talking about D+Kia as well. Surprising enough, as the games were going on throughout today here, after the first 3 games, not a great start here for South Korea, not a great start for the Japan team. And you can see moments of brilliance like Reject, D+Kia, Nongshim Red Force. They're starting to be very consistent in terms of racking up points. And all these small little things that they're doing and adaptations that has been made, I feel like is the biggest difference between them and the Indian teams.
Exactly. I mean, you just mentioned the most important thing, adaptation. That's what makes or separates good players from the best. That's what separates the okay teams from the great teams, the goated teams of all time. And that's what DRX has put on display. That's what Nongshim Red Force have always showcased. Doesn't matter if the first 3 games of the day do not really go your way. You just focus on the game plan that you have. You just focus on what you do best and just stick to that, and eventually things will work out.
You can see a big difference in terms of timings of in-between breaks, right? Let's talk about the in-between breaks that is happening between matches here. Approximately, what, 10 to 15 minutes max here?
Yeah.
What can you do within 10 to 15 minutes in terms of discussion, and how well are you going to be making those adaptations as well? And you can see the international teams is very quick. Like, you can see a completely different play styles coming from the teams in particular, match by match.
I'm pretty sure it's all about that quick shift in the mindset, right? As you brought up as well. It's also about clearing the past instantly. I'm pretty sure a lot of these international experienced teams, they don't even talk about what happened in the previous game. They pretty much talk about what they need to do in the upcoming game.
Exactly.
And maybe that's one of the main reasons why that's really giving them the edge.
I mean, see, these are small differences that are being made. Let's take Nongshim, for example, because that is one that was clearly visible. First few matches of the day, what was going wrong? They were playing for the center, they were trying to take those fights, they were getting picked off. What do? They stay outside the play zone entirely. Things start to work out in the last 3 games of the day. DRX, same thing. They were trying to play their natural play style. They were trying to play a little bit far away. They were trying to see if they could control the map a little bit more. They were losing individuals. They start sticking together. They start playing within like 50 to 100 meters for each other, and that's very close in terms of BGMI. And well, slowly and steadily, they just make it to the top, and now they have a nice little safety cushion to work with as well. Man, that was 19 points. They already had a lead before this game.
Yeah, that was just insane performance here coming from DRX here. When we talk about domination here, India may have dominated the first 3 games, but by the end of day number 1, DRX is the team to beat as of yet. They are currently the leaderboard right now. But let's talk about the MVP on the match right now. As you can see, Nongshim Red Force is currently on the MVP list with XCY on the screen right now.
Yeah, I mean, 4 finishes from the guy from Nongshim. The entirety of Nongshim was pretty much just feeling themselves. There was a moment inside of the game where we all felt like Nongshim could have eliminated DRX, especially Tizzy. He was able to find those 2 crucial knockouts. I personally thought DRX is done for right then and there. But the lucky part for DRX is that the man ran out of utility.
Yeah.
And that's why DRX was not eliminated in that circumstance.
That is very true, man. Had he had like a couple of need or Molotovs, it would have been over then and there. But it was an interesting game. Nongshim Red Force, we do see XCY walking over the MVP. DRX, they have 2 players there, QXG and Yunbin. Nolbu, I was waiting for this man to show up the whole day, and then the last Miramar, he finally displays what he's made of. By the way, he's one of the best players on that stage right now.
Exactly, in the world, I would say. But let us talk a little bit more on towards their points that they have earned in the match. Obviously, we have to talk about DRX. They've got 19 points, followed by Nongshim with 16 points. D plus K with 11 points. 3 South Korean teams in the tabletop here with the map of Miramar. And so far, 2 games of Miramar has been played here at BMIC, and it's been a complete domination by the international teams here.
Guys, we've been talking so much about the other Indian teams or the international teams as well, but we completely forgot to talk about True Rippers. This team is slipping under the radar, guys. Still in the top 4, True Rippers is consistently getting those points. And I'm pretty sure True Rippers, if they keep on moving with the same pace, they will be in the top 2 tomorrow.
I mean, they can be, but you have to agree with me on this, Necro. True Rippers, for some reason, are being a little bit more aggressive than they usually are. Because True Rippers, as I said this at the start of the day, True Rippers, DRX have similar playstyle, but DRX, they convert more fights. True Rippers, they don't, but they play for survival as well. And look at what the result of DRX being consistent has been throughout the day. The most amount of placement points, most amount of finishes. The next in line, Nebula has only 17 placement points in 6 games. That's not enough.
Now, as of yet here, let's talk about the MVP of the tournament thus far. The contenders on screen here. Hyunbin coming from DRX here is on number 1 here with 18 finishes, followed by XQXZZZ with 10 points. And then 19 finishes from Hyunbin, XQZZ with 15 finishes, Hydro with 12, 11 for Legit, and then Nagon from Reignite with 11 finishes. These are currently your top MVP tournaments here. At the start of the day, we had a couple of discussions about, you know, maybe it's going to be Nebula, maybe it's going to be Kratos here, but now after 6 matches, this is pretty strong start here coming from DRX.
And I guess the funny part is that from Japan, we all thought that Reject will be the one to dominate, but instead Reignite's the one to do extremely good, right? That's been a major surprise for all of us.
I'm happy seeing Reignite do well, man. I mean, we got a chance to talk to the players as well, amazing human beings. And of course, I mean, with how they are playing, nothing too flashy, sticking to the fundamentals, that is what I would want from a team that is playing in a fresh region for the first time. You gotta get a better understanding of what you're up against, but again, Reignite have done that perfectly.
Now, when we talk about adaptations and, of course, the element of surprise,